Shui, your taste is truly excellent. I really love the brooch and earrings you chose. Li Peiji couldn't stop smiling with delight. Jiyu Yuanlin also smiled and said, Shui, you've put a lot of thought into this. This watch suits me perfectly. Seeing the elders quite satisfied with the gifts she had chosen, Shun Shui felt very happy inside. With a smile lingering on her face, she spent most of the day with the elders, sharing many amusing stories from the past few days. The living room was filled with laughter and joy. After lunch, Shun Shui and Jiyu Ziyue, along with the gifts and their 2 children, drove back to the Yu family home. Every member of the Jiyu family received a gift, and Shun Shui certainly didn't show favoritism. She bought many things for her grandfather and brother as well. Chapter 131, Borrowing Flowers to Offer to Buddha. A black Bentley slowly drove through the gates of the Yu family's estate and came to a stop in front of the main building. As soon as the car stopped, Shunrui came out to greet them, waving cheerfully with a broad smile. Uncle Tilda Jiyu Ruochen and Jiyu Ruoshi called out to Shunrui through the car window. Shunrui opened the rear car door and helped the 2 children unbuckle their seatbelts. Chen Chen and 1111 slid off the seats and ran towards the area behind Shunrui. After getting out of the car, Shunrui turned his head to look back. It turned out Grandpa had also come out. Grandpa, after getting out of the car, Shun Shui and Jiyu Zeyue first greeted the elderly Mr. Yu, then turned to Shunrui and called out, Brother. Shunrui nodded slightly with a smile and said, Come on in and sit down. You just returned to Haicheng early this morning. Why not rest properly? Can't we miss you and Grandpa Tilda? Shun Shui blinked and asked Shunrui in a low voice, Brother, how have you been lately? What do you mean how? Same as usual. Shun Shui nudged Shunrui with her arm and asked, I wanted to ask if there's any progress between you and Wani. At the mention of Ning Wani, a soft light flickered in Shunrui's eyes as he smiled and said, We meet up once a week, sometimes for meals, sometimes for shows. We also message each other often. This shows the progress is quite good. They already have regular dates and stay in touch daily. Moreover, Ning Wani must also have feelings for her brother, otherwise, she wouldn't meet with him so often. Shun Shui smiled and said to her brother, Not bad, bro, keep it up and win over my sister-in-law soon. Old Master Yu led Chen Chen and 1111 into the living room and immediately instructed the servants to bring some snacks the children loved. Shun Shui took out all the gifts she had brought back from abroad and gave them to Old Master Yu and Shunrui. For Old Master Yu, she had prepared some health supplements, while for Shunrui, she had brought perfume and chocolates. Shunrui looked at the pink perfume bottle, raising his eyes in confusion to meet Shun Shui's gaze. Shunrui silently questioned with his eyes, What do you mean? Shun Shui raised an eyebrow and smiled knowingly. You get it. After a moment of contemplation, Shunrui suddenly realized he didn't like eating chocolate, nor did he fancy perfumes with girlish pink bottles. Then, he could borrow flowers to offer to Buddha, passing the perfume and chocolates on to Ningguani. Shunrui gave Shun Shui a thumbs up, praising her excellent gift choice. He could take the gifts to Ningguani, creating another opportunity to meet. At the same time, it would send Ningguani a message. Shun Shui fully supported her relationship with his brother. The 2 little ones sat on either side of Grandpa Yu, sharing stories from kindergarten that had the old man laughing heartily. The family of 4 stayed at the Yu residence for the night and didn't drive back to the Jiyu family home until the next afternoon. On Monday morning, the couple resumed their usual routine, rising early for a jog in the garden. After breakfast, Jiyu Yuanlin and Li Peiji personally took the children to school, while Jiyu Zeyue and Shun Shui left for work together. When Shun Shui got out of the car at the entrance of the Yu group, she was carrying a single shoulder bag and holding several shopping bags in her hand. Back at the office door, Shun Shui handed the bags to Jiang Lu and said softly, These are some souvenirs I brought for everyone. Please help distribute them. Of course, Director Shun, Jiang Lu replied respectfully, quickly reaching out to take the bags. Ever since everyone learned about Shun Shui's true identity, they no longer dared to act as casually around her as they used to. Although Shun Shui has a very approachable personality, her status is fundamentally different now. Previously, Shun Shui was the general manager, but to put it bluntly, she was just like them, a worker, albeit in a higher position. Now it's different. Shun Shui is the granddaughter of Chairman Yu and the heir to the group. that makes Shun Shuwei and her colleagues distinct as employer and employees, having not returned to the company for a week. Shun Shuwei's desk was already piled high with documents awaiting her signature and approval. Shun Shuwei picked up her coffee cup, took a sip of the now lukewarm coffee, and sighed softly. All right, time to get to work. In the following hours, Shun Shuwei immersed herself in her work, not even taking a break for lunch, opting to order takeout via her phone instead. After finishing her takeout, Shun Shuwei dove right back into her busy workload. Busy until evening, the phone on the desk rang. Shun Shuwei glanced at the phone screen. The call was from Jiyu Ziyue. She answered the call, then stood up and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing at the towering buildings and bustling traffic under the sunset. Shuwei, are you done with work? I'm almost at your company's building. Shun Shuwei glanced at the desk and said, yeah, almost done, just 2 or 3 more documents. All right, come downstairs when you're finished, I'll wait for you downstairs. No rush, take your time, okay? I'll hurry up, see you in a bit. After hanging up the phone, Shun Shuwei stretched her arms and loosened up her muscles. He then turned and walked back to his desk to finish the last few documents. About half an hour later, Shun Shuwei turned off the computer, picked up her bag, and walked out of the office. Seeing Shun Shuwei exit the office building, Jiyu Ziyue immediately got out of the car and walked around to open the door for her. Have you been waiting long? Shun Shuwei smiled faintly and leaned in to sit in the passenger seat. Jiyu Ziyue gazed at her face with a gentle smile in his eyes. Waiting for my wife to finish work, no matter how long it takes. Oh, that's quite the mindset. Jiyu Ziyue's thoughtfulness and affection soothed her exhaustion from the day. The car slowly started, and Jiyu Ziyue and Shun Shuwei first had dinner at a nearby restaurant before driving to Yuzhang Mansion. The house there was almost fully furnished. The couple went to check if anything was still missing, and if everything was fine, they could move in soon. Yuzhang Mansion is closer to the children's school and much nearer to the company, making it more convenient to move here. Looking at this future home, Shun Shuwei was very satisfied. Both adults and children have their own independent study or work areas. Let's test the soundproofing of the piano room, Shun Shuwei said to Jiyu Ziyue. You sit here while I go upstairs to play the piano. And see if you can hear the sound. After all, Jiyu Ruochen and Jiyu Ruoshi will need to practice the piano every day in the future. If the soundproofing isn't good, it would surely disturb the neighbors upstairs and downstairs. Jiyu Ziyue nodded in agreement. All right, I'll listen here. 5 minutes later, Shun Shuwei came downstairs and asked Jiyu Ziyue, so, did you hear anything? Nothing. Jiyu Ziyue shook his head. I thought you weren't even playing the piano. Apart from the sound of you going up and down the stairs, I didn't hear any other noises. Shun Shuwei walked over and sat down beside Jiyu Ziyue, saying, then I'm relieved. The soundproofing facilities we spent a fortune on are really effective. Yeah, we can get ready to move in now, actually. Jiyu Ziyue was even more eager to move out sooner. Although the elders in the Jiyu family wouldn't interfere too much with them, living separately would still be more comfortable. Offering more private time as a couple. Chapter 132, the family of 4 moves into their cozy new home. The busy workweek flew by in a blink. By Saturday, Shun Shuwei and Jiyu Ziyue had moved with the children to live at Yuzhang Mansion. In addition to their family of 4, Aunt Zhong also went along, and Shun Shuwei prepared a small room for her. Furthermore, Shun Shuwei planned to hire 2 part-time cleaners to take care of the household chores. The 2 children immediately began exploring every room as soon as they arrived at their new home. After touring the house, Jiyu Ruoshi walked over to Shun Shuwei and said cheerfully, Mom, our new home is so beautiful. 1111 really likes it here, doesn't she? Shun Shuwei asked with a smile. Jiyu Ruoshi's clear, water-like eyes looked at her as she said, Mom, can we live here forever then? Of course, we won't move anymore, we'll stay here forever. Great. Jiyu Ruoshi happily ran off to share the good news with Jiyu Ruochen. Brother, Mom said we're going to live here from now on, no more moving. I really like this house too, let's go check out the terrace. Jiyu Ruochen took Jiyu Ruoshi's hand and walked toward the terrace. Shun Shuwei called out worriedly, Chen, 1111, be careful, don't get too close to the railing. The children responded, Mom, we understand. The balcony is filled with many green plants and features a leisure area with outdoor sofas, coffee tables, lounge chairs, and a rocking wicker chair. Sitting here offers a 180-degree view of the river. Jiyu Ruoshi pointed at the river and said to Jiyu Ruochan, "Brother, look quickly, there are several boats." In the morning, Shun Shuei and Jiyu Ziyue were organizing the items they had moved in. The two little ones, after touring the house and realizing their parents were busy, obediently stayed in their room to play with puzzles. Lunch was prepared by Aunt Zhong, who made 5 dishes and a soup. Though the selection wasn't extensive, Aunt Zhong's cooking skills were excellent. After lunch, they sat for a while, concerned that the little ones might not be used to the new environment. Shun Shuei accompanied them back to their room for a nap. When Chen Chen and 1111 wake up, Shun Shuei plans to take them out for a stroll and buy some groceries on the way. "Ziyue, I want to take the kids out for a walk. Would you like to join us?" "Sure, I'll be right there." Jiyu Ziyue saved the document, shut down the computer, and stood up to leave the study. The family of 4 went downstairs, walked through the central garden of the residential area, and exited the main gate. Just outside the community was Riverside Avenue. Walk a little further ahead, and there's a large public square. The square is bustling with activity. Some people are rollerblading. Others are playing chess under the trees, and some are flying kites, of course. There are also those like Shun Shuei, who are out walking their kids. Jiyu Ruochan and Jiyu Ruoshi look around excitedly, clearly enjoying the lively atmosphere here. The area around the Jiyu family's old residence is filled with villas, and because the gardens are so large, the distance between neighboring houses becomes quite far. Living near the Jiyu family's old residence, most of the time, the children play in the garden or in the toy room. The children love to watch the excitement and also enjoy going out to play, seeing other kids riding their little bikes in the square. Jiyu Ruochan shook Shun Shuei's hand and said to her, "Mom, next time I want to ride my bike here too." Shun Shuei nodded. "All right. Then next time bring your little bike down." While strolling in the square, Shun Shuei held Jiyu Ruochan's hand, and Jiyu Ziyue held Jiyu Ruoshi's hand. Although the public safety here is quite good, we still need to be careful and not let the children out of our sight. After finishing their walk in the square, the couple took the children to the vegetable market. Walking to the entrance of the vegetable market, Jiyu Ziyue said softly to Shun Shuei, "I know the market is here, but I've never been inside." Hearing this, Shun Shuei asked, "You've never been to a vegetable market before, have you?" Jiyu Ziyue nodded slightly and replied with a smile. "That's right." Shun Shuei's lips twitched slightly as she asked another question. "Then where did you buy the ingredients when you learned to cook before?" Jiyu Ziyue answered succinctly, "Online supermarket, home delivery," Shun Shuei said to him as she walked inside. "Then you must have never experienced the joy of personally selecting ingredients." With a gentle smile on his face, Jiyu Ziyue replied, "Now that I'm following you here, I can finally experience it." After Jiyu Ruochan and Jiyu Ruoshi returned to the country, Shun Shuei had never taken them to the market either. This was the first time the two children had come to a vegetable market. The domestic vegetable markets are quite different from those abroad. As soon as they walked in, they could feel the enthusiasm of the stall owners. Shun Shuei was responsible for picking out the vegetables, while Jiyu Ziyue quietly followed by her side, carrying the purchased groceries and keeping an eye on the two children. When they reached a seafood stall, the owner actually remembered Shun Shuei. She looked surprised and said, "Oh my, it's been a long time since I last saw you." Most acquaintances at the vegetable market are merely nodding acquaintances, not even knowing each other's names. But if you buy from the same stall often enough, they'll remember your face. "Yes, it's been a while." Shun Shuei glanced at the lively fish and shrimp, then said to the stall owner, "I'd like to buy a mandarin fish. Could you clean it for me, please?" Of course, of course." The stall owner quickly scooped up a mandarin fish, cleaned it thoroughly, and then bagged it before handing it to Shun Shuei. "Are these your little ones? They're absolutely adorable." Shun Shuei nodded gently. "Yes, these two children are my babies, having a boy and a girl. What a blessing." The shop owner then looked at Jiyu Ziyue. "Is this your husband? So handsome. No wonder you have such adorable babies." "That's right, he is my husband." After chatting for a while, Shun Shuei continued walking and bought some other meat and vegetables. After walking around the vegetable market, Jiyu Ziyue's hands were already full of bags, both big and small. "All right, we've bought almost enough." As they reached the entrance of the market, Shun Shuei asked with concern, "It's quite heavy, isn't it?" Let me carry some too. No need, no need. Just keep an eye on Chen Chen and 1111. We'll need to hold their hands when crossing the street later. Shen Shui didn't say anything more. Jiyu Zhua was far from being a weakling. The combined weight of these items was less than that of the dumbbells he usually lifted during workouts. The family of four headed back, taking a different route home to let the children explore other streets along the way, bathed in the tangerine glow of the setting sun. The family of four painted a heartwarming and blissful picture. Jiyu Zhua tilted his head to glance at Shen Shui, his eyes shimmering with a gentler light than the evening sun. Chapter 133. Raising a snow-white fluffball. On the way home, as they passed the intersection closest to their house, Jiyu Ruoshi suddenly stopped and tugged at Shen Shui's hand. 1111, what's wrong? Shen Shui asked softly. Next to them was a pet shop. Seeing many puppies and kittens inside, Jiyu Ruoshi said to Shen Shui, Mom, can we go in and look at the puppies? Shen Shui nodded lightly. Alright, let's go in and take a look. Pushing open the glass door, the family of four stepped into the pet shop. Jiyu Ruochen and Jiyu Ruoshi peered through the glass at the puppies and kittens in their little compartments, so fluffy and adorable. Jiyu Ruoshi pressed her hands against the glass, seemingly eager to pet the puppies. She turned to her brother and asked, Brother, what kind of dog is this? This dog is a German Shepherd. What about this one? Jiyu Ruoshi asked about another dog. This dog is a Shiba Inu. Oh, I see. Jiyu Ruoshi nodded, spotting an adorable snow-white fluffball. Brother, isn't this one a Pomeranian? Jiyu Ruochen shook his head and said, No, this one's a Samoyed. This snow-white Samoyed is absolutely, incredibly cute. Jiyu Ruoshi lifted her head, her sparkling eyes gazing at Shen Shui. That look was all too familiar to Shen Shui. Every time Jiyu Ruoshi wanted to act spoiled and get Shen Shui to buy her something, she would look at her with those innocent, guileless eyes. Shen Shui smiled faintly, waiting for her daughter to speak. Sure enough, Jiyu Ruoshi walked up close, tugged at Shen Shui's sleeve with her chubby little hand, and called out in a sweet, soft voice, Mommy. Shen Shui hummed in response, gently patting her little head, and asked, Does 1111 want to pet this puppy? Can I touch it? Jiyu Zhua said a word to the clerk, who quickly opened the glass cabinet door, picked up the little Samoyed, and placed it on a square table. Jiyu Ruochen and Jiyu Ruoshi immediately gathered around, staring intently at the small white fluffball. Shen Shui reached out and stroked the Samoyed's head and back. Her movements were very gentle, and it wasn't frightened at all. Instead, it even nuzzled her hand with its little head. Chen Chen, 1111, it's very well behaved. You can pet it gently, it's okay. Seeing the little fluffball so well behaved, the two children finally dared to reach out and gently stroke it. The little snow-white fluffball's fur is so soft and fluffy, it feels really nice to touch. Jiyu Ruoshi saw that this Samoyed was truly obedient, and she liked it even more. Jiyu Ruochen also liked this Samoyed very much and reached out to stroke its little head again. Jiyu Zhua whispered in Shen Shui's ear, It seems we'll have one more puppy at home from now on. Shen Shui nodded with a smile. Yes, look how reluctant they are to put it down. If both children like it, there's no harm in keeping a dog. Mom, can we buy this puppy and take it home? To Shen Shui and Jiyu Zhua's surprise, it was Jiyu Ruochen who spoke up first this time. Jiyu Ruoshi quickly chimed in with her brother's words. Mom, it's really so well behaved and cute. Can we take it home? Shen Shui thought for a moment and said, We can only have one dog at home. You need to be sure about this. Do you want to look at other puppies first? Jiyu Ruochen and Jiyu Ruoshi shook their heads in perfect unison. No need to look anymore, we just want this little Samoyed. Shen Shui nodded gently. Alright, then we'll take it home. Seeing that Shen Shui agreed, Jiyu Zhua walked to the cashier, took out his phone to pay, and also inquired about the dog's vaccination status. The pet shop offered a simple small cage, but Shen Shui declined. Feeling there was no need to confine the dog, with the adorable puppy now theirs, Jiyu Ruochen and Jiyu Ruoshi were overjoyed. Taking turns holding the little dog, upon returning home, the two children hurried inside, cradling the small Samoyed in their arms. They walked up to Aunt Zhong, beaming with joy, and said to her, Auntie Zhong, look at the puppy we bought Tilda. Oh my, this little pup's fur is snow-white, so adorable. Aunt Zhong reached out to pet the puppy and asked, Is this a Samoyed? The siblings replied in unison, "Yes, it is." Seeing the children so happy, Shun Shuai and Jiyu Ziue couldn't help but smile as well. Shun Shuai took a sip of warm water and suddenly thought of something, saying, "Oh, right, we still need to buy some pet supplies." The pet store they just visited was quite small, and the pet supplies weren't very comprehensive. They only bought some dog food and haven't gotten anything else yet. Jiyu Ziue nodded and said, "Millimeter, after dinner. I'll drive out to buy them." "Okay, I'll make you a list, and you can just follow it when shopping." Jiyu Ziue smiled and said, "You're always so thoughtful." Shun Shuai was looking up information on her tablet while jotting down the items they needed to buy on a piece of paper. After finishing the list, Shun Shuai suddenly thought of another question. We didn't ask whether the dog is male or female. Chen, bring the puppy over. Mom wants to take a look." Jiyu Ziue turned around and called out to their son. Coming right away, Jiyu Ruochen walked over holding the puppy and placed it at Shun Shuai's feet. Shun Shuai picked up the puppy, set it on her lap, and checked its physiological characteristics. "Oh, it's a female." Jiyu Ruoshi blinked in confusion and asked, "What does female mean?" For a kindergarten child, this was still an unfamiliar term for now. Shun Shuai thought for a moment before replying, "That means she's a girl." Jiyu Ruoshi said cheerfully, "Yay, she's a little girl just like me. We need to give the puppy a name." Shun Shuai looked at her son and daughter. "You two can decide on its name. Snowy, Little White, Glutinous Rice Ball, Marshmallow, Gold Ingot." Jiyu Ruochen and Jiyu Ruoshi suggested several names in a row, but none seemed quite satisfactory. As the siblings couldn't reach a consensus, after a long silence, Jiyu Ruochen came up with one. "How about Shirley?" After pondering for a moment, Jiyu Ruoshi nodded vigorously. I think this name is really nice." Shun Shuai and Jiyu Ziue had no objections either. Since they had let the children choose the name, the two of them naturally wouldn't interfere. As long as Chen and 1111 thought it sounded good, that was enough. "Sherry, from now on. You'll be called Sherry. Do you like this name?" The little Samoyed wagged its tail excitedly, as if very pleased with the name. Sherry. Hearing the name, Sherry stood up and spun around in circles. Jiyu Ruochen and Jiyu Ruoshi started playing with Shirley again. Chapter 134. Ji Jingzhan comes prepared. Dongning City, Idong International Grand Hotel. A black Alphard slowly stopped at the hotel's main entrance. The rear door automatically opened, first revealing a pair of fair, slender legs in high heels, showcasing the elegant curves of the calves. Shung Sungyu leaned forward to exit the car with an exceptionally graceful posture, then walked straight into the hotel lobby and took the elevator to the third-floor conference hall. The reason she came here today was to attend an audition for a film crew. This was a modern urban TV drama, and the role Shung Sungyu was preparing to audition for was the female lead of the series. Shung Sungyu had read the script. The female protagonist had a strong, independent personality without being overly focused on romance. The entire plot primarily revolved around her career journey. From job hunting after college graduation to working at a magazine, romance only occupies a small part of the plot. After reading the script, Shung Sungyu became quite interested in the role, so she specially flew from Haicheng to audition. The audition was scheduled for 5 p.m., and Shung Sungyu arrived about 10 minutes early. The previous audition hadn't finished yet, so she sat on a chair to wait. While waiting, Shung Sungyu took out the script from her bag and carefully analyzed the plot and the character. Actually, Shung Sungyu didn't hold much hope for this audition. Before this, she had already heard that this audition was likely just a formality, as the investors had already favored a particular actress for the female lead role at 5 o'clock. The actress who had auditioned before her opened the door and walked out. Shung Sungyu looked up at the actress, a flicker of surprise flashing in her eyes. She hadn't expected even the award-winning actress Yun Qian to come for the audition. She sighed inwardly, realizing that with Yun Qian present, she truly stood no chance. Shung Sungyu stood up and nodded politely towards Yun Qian. Yun Qian glanced at the script in Shung Sungyu's hand, her lips curling slightly with a hint of disdain in her eyes. Without acknowledging Shung Sungyu, she put on her sunglasses and walked away. Shung Sungyu awkwardly touched the tip of her nose. Hearing someone call her name from inside the room, she quickly pushed the door open and entered. "Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Shung Sung-yu tilde. Shung Sung-yu smiled as she looked at the film crew's director and investors. Ji Jingjan's handsome face unexpectedly came into her line of sight. Judging by his seating position, he was actually the biggest investor in this drama. Meeting Shung Sung-yu's astonished gaze, Ji Jingjan winked at her and then flashed a gentle smile. At this moment, the director said kindly to Shung Sung-yu, "Sung-yu, I assume you've read the script. Please perform the opening scene of the 6th episode, where the female lead has her opportunity snatched away by other reporters." Okay, Shung Sung-yu closed her eyes, took a deep breath. And when she opened them again, her gaze had completely changed. It was as if she had become a completely different person. Her originally calm eyes were now filled with grievance and resentment. Shung Sung-yu completely immersed herself in the role, delivering her lines with just the right amount of emotion, performing with remarkable depth. After watching Shung Sung-yu's performance, the judges from the production team couldn't help but nod in approval. Believing she was quite suitable for the role, after finishing that scene, the director asked Shung Sung-yu to share her understanding of the character. Unhurried, Shung Sung-yu expressed all her thoughts about the character. After the audition, Shung Sung-yu turned and walked out, her gaze no longer lingering in Ji Jingjan's direction. She was afraid that if she looked at Ji Jingjan too much, he might mistakenly think she was trying to use connections to get ahead. Although Shung Sung-yu really wanted to take on this role, she despised the idea of relying on backdoor deals the most. After all, Shung Sung-yu wasn't short of money to begin with. Acting is just her hobby. Whether she becomes wildly popular or makes money isn't what she cares about. After getting into the car at the hotel entrance, Shung Sung-yu took out her phone to glance at it, preparing to message her agent and discuss the audition situation. Opening WeChat, she noticed Ji Jingjan had sent her a message. "Ji Jingjan, I still owe you a meal. Why not seize the day? How about having dinner together?" Shung Sung-yu immediately replied to him, "Great, shall we go try some local specialties?" Ji Jingjan, "No problem, just pick a restaurant and send me the details." Shung Sung-yu first sent a WeChat message to her agent, then opened a popular review app to find a well-rated restaurant with good feedback, and forwarded it to Ji Jingjan. After all the actors finished their auditions, the director of the crew, while packing up the materials, said to Ji Jingjan, "Mr. Ji, we've reserved a table at the restaurant on the 2nd floor. Would you like to join us for dinner?" "Sorry, I already have plans to have dinner with a friend tonight." Ji Jingjan stood up and said, "Another time, I'll treat you all to a meal." Ji Jingjan drove to the restaurant according to the address Shung Sung-yu had sent him. He was wearing a white shirt, a light grey thin knit sweater, and black trousers, his whole figure tall and straight as he walked towards Shung Sung-yu. After he took his seat, Shung Sung-yu looked at him with a smile and said, "What a coincidence. I didn't expect you to be in Dongning City too, and to be the investor of the production I'm auditioning for. Yeah, what a coincidence. I was quite surprised when I saw you just now." Ji Jingjan said, pretending to be nonchalant. "In this world, there are no such coincidences. More often than not, it's a well-prepared encounter. Let's order first. What would you like to eat?" Shung Sung-yu flipped through the menu in front of her, selected 2 dishes, and then asked Ji Jingjan to pick 2 as well. Ji Jingjan casually chose 2 local specialties and then set the menu aside. For him, what to eat didn't matter. What truly mattered was who he shared the meal with. Counting the previous time they drove back from the seaside, this was Shung Sung-yu's 2nd time meeting Ji Jingjan alone, yet there wasn't the slightest hint of awkwardness. Just like last time, the 2 of them conversed happily, discovering they shared many common topics. After the meal, Ji Jingjan escorted Shung Sung-yu back to the Park Hyatt Hotel where she was staying and got out of the car with her. "Thank you for dinner. You can just drop me off here. I can go upstairs by myself." Seeing Ji Jingjan follow her out of the car, Shung Sung-yu mistakenly thought he intended to escort her upstairs, or rather, to her room. "I'm staying at this hotel too." Ji Jingjan raised an eyebrow suggestively and said in a low voice, "What were you thinking, that I wanted to follow you back to your room?" A blush crept onto Shung Sung-yu's cheeks. She had indeed overthought it just now. The 2 walked through the hotel's revolving door together and then took the elevator upstairs. Little did they know, all of Shung Sung-yu's movements that night had been captured by a paparazzo. The paparazzo had originally just gone to that restaurant for a meal, never expecting such good luck, catching Shung Sung-yu dining with investors. After the meal, Shung Sung-yu even went to a hotel room with someone. Releasing these photos taken tonight is sure to generate a lot of buzz. The paparazzi journalist who was following Shung Sung-yu has already decided to work overtime to finish the article and publish it as quickly as possible. Since entering the entertainment industry, Shung Sung-yu has always maintained a clean and self-respecting image, with no scandals whatsoever. Even when filming romantic scenes, she refuses to engage in CP marketing with male co-stars. Who would have thought that Shung Sung-yu, in order to secure the role, would actually have dinner with the investors tonight and even go back to the hotel room together? This is explosive news, a surefire scandal. Chapter 135, Malicious Gossip. The next morning, Shung Sung-yu groggily opened her eyes, reached out to turn on the bedside lamp, and glanced at her phone screen. It's 8:05 in the morning. She lazily yawned, propped herself up, casually grabbed another pillow, stuffed it behind her back, and leaned against the headboard to play with her phone. WeChat showed over a dozen red notification dots. Her agent and two close friends had each sent her several messages. They were all talking about the same thing. Last night, she was spotted having dinner with Ji Jingzhan and then returning to the hotel together, and the scene had been exposed by the entertainment media. Shung Sung-yu had always been free from scandals. Many entertainment reporters followed her, but at most, they could only snap a few photos of her meeting with friends. Being photographed dining with a member of the opposite sex and returning to a hotel, this was a first. Major platforms reposted this piece of gossip news, and the name Shung Sung-yu quickly climbed to the top spots on the trending list. Shung Sung-yu clicked open the news article, her fingers scrolling down the screen to read further. After reading this gossip news, Shung Sung-yu couldn't help but laugh. These entertainment reporters truly have an incredible talent for spinning stories out of thin air. If these entertainment journalists switched careers to become screenwriters, they could definitely produce more TV dramas with thrilling plots. The gist of this gossip piece is that despite being in the industry for so many years, Shung Sung-yu has never achieved major stardom. Now that she's finally come across a promising script, she's extremely eager to land the female lead role in this drama. That's why she's putting everything else aside and actively arranging dinners with the investors. Accompanying the investors back to the hotel, Shung Sung-yu finished reading the news and then glanced at the message from her friend, Ji Shiyu. Sung-yu, are you dating Ji Jingzhan? You kept it so well hidden. Even we didn't know, Shun Shuwei. Otherwise, why don't you two just take this opportunity to make it official? Shung Sung-yu, I'm not dating Ji Jingzhan. What official announcement are you talking about, Shung Sung-yu? I only found out he's the investor for this drama when I went to the audition yesterday. Last time at the racecourse, he lost during the horse race. He owed me a meal, so we just went out to eat together last night. Ji Shiyu. Then why did you return to the hotel together, Shun Shuwei? I'm also very curious. Shung Sung-yu continued to explain, we were just staying at the same hotel, it was purely coincidental. After hearing Shung Sung-yu's explanation, Ji Shiyu and Shun Shuwei didn't tease her any further. They certainly knew that if Shung Sung-yu were really together with Ji Jingzhan, she definitely wouldn't hide it from them. After chatting with a friend on WeChat for a while, Shung Sung-yu replied to her agent's message. She told her agent that she would handle the matter herself and would issue a clarification statement shortly. These baseless rumors are all too common in the entertainment industry. After all, she has a clear conscience and isn't afraid of false accusations. She just needs to explain the truth to her fans, plain and simple. Shung Sung-yu finished washing up, changed into a white long-sleeve dress, and then applied light makeup for herself. After getting ready, she took a small phone bag, left her room, and went downstairs to the hotel restaurant for the buffet breakfast. The hotel breakfast offered dozens of options. Shung Sung-yu ordered a bowl of century egg congee and picked up some pastries. Choosing an inconspicuous corner to sit, she ate her breakfast while editing the clarification statement. Just text explanations might not be convincing enough, but if I were to include chat records, I'd need to get Ji Jingzhan's permission first. Shung Sung-yu let out a light sigh. She wasn't entirely sure if Ji Jingzhan would agree. After all, the Ji family has always been very low-key. And Ji Jingzhan himself isn't one to seek the limelight. Why are you frowning so early in the morning? A dinner plate and a cup of coffee were placed on the table. Ji Jingzhan sat down opposite Shung Sung-yu and asked, are you troubled by that gossip news? Shung Sung-yu nodded. Yes. I can have someone handle it and immediately delete all content related to this topic, Ji Jingzhan said. Even if everything is deleted, many people have already seen it. I'd better issue a clarification statement. Sheng Sangyu pursed her lips and asked straightforwardly, can I include a little bit of our chat records? Of course, there's nothing to hide, Ji Jingzhan agreed without hesitation. Sheng Sangyu only screenshot the part of their chat history about arranging dinner yesterday, just to prove that she and Ji Jingzhan had been friends before. It wasn't a case of her resorting to unscrupulous means, like dining with investors, to secure a role after breakfast. Sheng Sangyu finished drafting her clarification statement and posted it. Sheng Sangyu v. I never expected that going out for a meal with a friend last night would spark such controversy and discussion. First of all, I sincerely appreciate everyone's concern about my personal life. Secondly, I want to clarify that we have always been just friends. There are no so-called hidden rules, and certainly no checking into a hotel room together. Hotels have many rooms. And it was merely a coincidence that we stayed at the same hotel. In the entertainment industry, which is often seen as a melting pot of complexities, I have always adhered to my principles. I urge everyone to view this matter rationally and stop spreading malicious rumors. Otherwise, I will have no choice but to involve my legal team to address this issue. After seeing Sheng Sangyu's statement and the chat screenshots, the public opinion immediately shifted from the chat screenshots. It was clear that Ji Jingzhan had actively invited her to dinner. The messages exchanged between them were very casual, suggesting that she and Ji Jingzhan had indeed known each other before. After returning to her room upstairs, Sheng Sangyu sat on the sofa, scrolling through the comments on Weibo. Jiangnan doesn't know spring. Ha ha ha, Sheng Sangyu is really too domineering. Those who spread rumors casually deserve legal punishment. Long Island iced tea. Those little haters believe everything they hear, and now they're getting slapped in the face. Right, little dummy. Sangyu, I'll always love you and support you. Our Sangyu is the most beautiful. Sangyu herself is a wealthy heiress. Even with your knees, you can figure out that she would never accept any under-the-table deals. While Sheng Sangyu was reading the comments, Ji Jingzhan was also holding his phone in his own room. However, he was registering for Weibo. After setting up his Weibo account, Ji Jingzhan reposted Sheng Sangyu's tweet. He also added an explanation. The gossip news is too ridiculous. We belong to the same circle, with comparable family backgrounds. There's no way she would resort to unscrupulous means for a role. Ji Jingzhan's statement that their family backgrounds are equally matched confirmed that Sheng Sangyu is indeed a wealthy heiress. Even the anti-fans who deliberately slandered Sheng Sangyu are now speechless. They have no ground to stand on. How can you fight an uphill battle? Upon learning the news was false, major platforms began deleting the gossip article. After the scandal was completely cleared up, some netizens started shipping Sheng Sangyu and Ji Jingzhan as a couple. Durian pork stir-fry, seriously. Am I the only one who thinks these two look really good together? Early bird, hold on, upstairs. I feel the same way. Nebula, looking at the photos released by the gossip media, they really do seem like a perfect match. Truly a talented man and beautiful woman, well matched in every way. Ji Jingzhan couldn't help but like these comments. After liking the post, he suddenly realized a problem. These people would probably receive a notification. Ji Jingzhan liked this comment. Chapter 136. Is Shun Rui preparing to confess his feelings? At 11 a.m., Sheng Sangyu packed her luggage and wheeled her suitcase downstairs to check out. After completing the checkout procedures at the hotel, Sheng Sangyu slowly walked out of the main entrance. The driver, seeing her approach, quickly got out of the car to help her load the luggage into the trunk. Thank you, Sheng Sangyu said softly, then bent down and got into the car. The driver quickly got in as well, started the car, and drove towards the airport. Sheng Sangyu took out her phone again and continued to read fan comments on Weibo. After scrolling through Weibo for a while, she couldn't help but frown. What was going on? She had just clarified her relationship with Ji Jingzhan, and now her fans were actually shipping the two of them as a couple. What's more, several fans posted screenshots claiming that Ji Jingzhan had liked their comments about the ship. At first, the fans were just joking around, but who would have thought the man himself would give it a like? Fans flooded the comments. So sweet, we're totally shipping this. As a result, the number of fans shipping the couple grew. and their popularity soared. Sheng Sangyu stared blankly at her phone screen, telling herself that Ji Jingzhan probably just accidentally tapped the wrong button. Yes, that must be it. Let the fans ship the couple if they want. They'll forget about it after a while. The VIP parking area of the airport has arrived, and the driver pulls the car over to the side. Sheng Sangyu puts on her sunglasses, gets out of the car, and pushes her luggage into the airport. This trip to Dongning City is solely for an audition, with no other work commitments, so she didn't bring her assistant along. Taking the VIP channel at the airport and resting in the VIP lounge, she rarely encounters fans. As soon as she entered the VIP lounge, Sheng Sangyu saw Ji Jingzhan waving at her. Sheng Sangyu walked over and sat down opposite him, saying with some surprise, "Jingzhan, we meet again. What a coincidence." Indeed, Ji Jingzhan's lips curved slightly. "Doesn't this mean we have quite a strong connection? You're joking." Ji Jingzhan looked at her with a serious expression and said, "I'm not joking." At that moment, the waiter came over with a glass of plain water, placing the glass and menu in front of Sheng Sangyu. Please take a look at what you'd like to order." Sheng Sangyu ordered a steak and a fruit and vegetable salad. Ji Jingzhan's words just now left Sheng Sangyu somewhat shocked. He said he wasn't joking, so did he genuinely believe there was fate between them? After the waiter walked away, Sheng Sangyu remained silent for a moment before saying to Ji Jingzhan, "I heard the Ji and Qin families are planning an arranged marriage, meaning you'll be engaged to Qin when?" "That was before," Ji Jingzhan explained further. "It was just the wishful thinking of the elders from both families. After my insistence, my parents agreed not to interfere in my marriage." Before meeting Sheng Sangyu, Ji Jingzhan had considered whether he should just agree to the arranged marriage with the Qin family. After all, his family needed him to produce an heir, and he would have to marry and have children one way or another. Before meeting Sheng Sangyu, if someone had told Ji Jingzhan that he might fall in love with a woman at first sight, he would have scoffed at the idea. But after meeting Sheng Sangyu, he experienced a different kind of emotion, realizing his heart could beat this fast. Ji Jingzhan now spends all his free time watching the TV dramas Sheng Sangyu stars in and the variety shows she participates in, simply because he can see her face. Hearing Ji Jingzhan say he wouldn't marry into the Qin family, Sheng Sangyu felt a weight lift off her heart, unconsciously feeling a bit delighted. "That's good," Sheng Sangyu smiled and said. "Qin Wen has a bit of a spoiled temper. If you really married her, you'd probably have a hard time living a comfortable life." Ji Jingzhan only mentioned that the two had fate, without saying anything else. Meanwhile, Sheng Sangyu thought to herself that whether there was fate or not still needed time to prove. Just like Shun Shuwei and Jiyu Zeyue, who became husband and wife 7 years ago, they held on for over 2 years. But in the end, they still got divorced, 4 years later. Fate brought the two together once again. Fate and love are both such mysterious things. The ordered meals were served, and Sheng Sangyu smoothly changed the subject. At noon on Monday, Yu Corporation, Jiyu Zeyue drove over to pick up Shun Shuwei. A few new dishes had been introduced at the 5-star hotel under the Jiyu family's brand, and the couple planned to go try them. After getting out of the car, Shun Shuwei linked arms with Jiyu Zeyue as they walked into the opulent hotel lobby together. "Zeyue, after we finish eating, should we write a review or something?" Jiyu Zeyue said softly. "A verbal evaluation will do. If you don't like the taste, I'll have the chef adjust it." This hotel has both a Western restaurant and a Chinese restaurant, both located on the same floor. As the couple walked past the entrance of the Western restaurant, they saw Shun Rui holding a bouquet of roses, standing at the restaurant's entrance, seemingly discussing something with the restaurant manager. Then, the restaurant manager gestured as if suggesting where to hide the flowers. Shun Shuwei pulled Jiyu Zeyue behind a pillar, her gaze fixed intently on Shun Rui's direction. "Look at my brother's move. Is he about to confess to Ning Guani?" Shun Shuwei guessed that Shun Rui was planning to confess. Otherwise, why would he hide the flowers so mysteriously? Jiyu Zeyue nodded in agreement with her speculation. "I think that's a possibility too. Then let's hide nearby later. I can't wait to find out if Ning Guani will accept my brother's confession." Jiyu Zeyue asked with concern, "Aren't you hungry now? Why don't we go in and have some Western food too? We can eat while keeping an eye on your brother's movements." Chinese chef, another day of being stood up by the boss. Shun Shuwei nodded and said, "Oh, right. Then we'll go in a bit and find a corner seat where we can be out of sight." after Shunrui finished giving instructions to the restaurant manager. He walked into the restaurant. Shun Shuwei and Jiu Ziyue waited a few more minutes, and after estimating that Shunrui had taken his seat, the two then walked to the restaurant entrance. Upon seeing Jiu Ziyue and his wife appear, the restaurant manager immediately respectfully called out, "President." "Madam President, shesh." Shun Shuwei placed her index finger on her lips, signaling the restaurant manager to be quieter. The restaurant manager cooperatively lowered his voice. "Madam, do you have any instructions? That man who just walked in is my own brother. Help me find a spot not too far from him, but where he won't notice me." For Shun Shui's unusual request, the restaurant manager pondered for quite a while before saying, "There's a spot behind a screen and some potted plants. Would that work for you?" Shun Shui quickly nodded. Yes, that's perfect." The couple followed the restaurant manager, taking a detour from the other side. And arrived at that secluded spot. They were seated about 10 meters away from Shunrui, so they probably couldn't hear what he was saying, but it didn't matter. They could guess the outcome by observing Ningguani's reaction in a moment. Chapter 137, Brother Has a Girlfriend. 10 minutes later, Ningguani walked into the restaurant and headed towards Shunrui. Shunrui saw her approaching and quickly stood up to greet her, even pulling out a chair for Ningguani. "Thank you." Ningguani's eyes were gentle, and she said with a light smile, "There was a bit of traffic on the way, so I kept you waiting. It's no problem." Shunrui smiled gracefully and pointed to the menu, saying, "Shall we order first?" Ningguani nodded, lowering her gaze to the menu on the table. Shun Shuei rested her chin on her hands, watching Shunrui and Ningguani with great interest. The steak they had ordered arrived at their table. Seeing that Shun Shuei was engrossed in the scene, Jiu Ziyue picked up the knife and fork and began cutting her portion of the steak for her. "Shuei, the steak is best eaten while it's hot. It won't taste as good once it cools down." Shun Shuei turned her head to look at the table and only then noticed that Jiu Ziyue had already cut the steak for her. All she needed to do was pick up her fork and eat. "Thank you, hubby. You're so thoughtful." Shun Shui's gaze was as gentle as water, and she smiled sweetly. Jiu Ziyue replied with a smile. "You're welcome, eat up." As Shun Shui ate her steak, her gaze drifted back toward Shunrui. They had already ordered, and Shunrui handed a paper bag to Ningguani. Ningguani took the bag and looked at it, a faint smile appearing at the corners of her mouth. She said a few words to Shunrui. She was probably thanking Shunrui. "The paper bag your brother gave Ningguani likely contained the perfume and chocolates you sent." Jiu Ziyue's deep voice reached Shun Shui's ears. Upon hearing this, Shun Shui noticed the logo on the paper bag and murmured, "It really is." Shunrui and Ningguani chatted for quite a while before finally getting to the main topic. He retrieved a bouquet of red roses that had been hidden under a nearby dining cart, then walked over to Ningguani holding the flowers. At this moment, his expression turned very serious, his lips slightly moving as he said many words to Ningguani. After Shunrui finished speaking, Ningguani smiled softly and nodded at him. Seeing this, Shun Shui also grew excited. She grabbed Jiu Ziyue's hand and sighed. "Ah, did Ningguani just agree?" "Most likely." I saw her nod. Shun Shui continued to look over there as Ningguani accepted the roses from Shunrui. Shunrui gave her a gentle hug before returning to his seat. Shunrui stared intently at Ningguani, his face filled with ecstatic joy. "Wonderful. My brother and Ningguani are really together now." Shun Shui was overjoyed to witness her brother confessing his feelings to the person he loved. "Are you relieved now?" Jiu Ziyue asked with amusement. "As a younger sister, you're even more concerned about your brother's lifelong happiness than your parents." Speaking of her parents, Shun Shui let out a deep sigh and said, "Do you think my dad would be concerned?" Jiu Ziyue thought about Shin Yuhong's attitude toward his children and shook his head, saying, "In the past, he didn't want to interfere. Now, he probably can't interfere even if he wanted to." "Yeah," Shun Shui said. "He has no right to meddle in our affairs anymore." Every time Shun Shui talked about Shin Yuhong, her tone was always light and indifferent, but Jiu Ziyue felt heartbroken hearing this. If it weren't for repeated disappointments in her father, she wouldn't have become completely indifferent toward him. After finishing lunch and watching the scene of Shunrui's confession, the couple stood up, walked around to the other side, and left the restaurant. Jiu Ziyue drove Shun Shui back to the company. As soon as Shun Shui sat down in her office, her phone rang. Seeing it was her brother calling, A slight smile touched her lips as she answered the phone. Shun Shui feigned ignorance and said, "Hello, brother, what's up? Why are you calling me at this time?" "Shui, guess who I had lunch with today?" Shun Shui replied, "It's a work day. Did you have lunch with some big client? Tell me, how big was the order you landed?" "I did something big at noon today, but it wasn't work-related," Shun Shui asked curiously. "Oh, what was it then? Don't keep me in suspense, just tell me." Shun Rui took a few deep breaths. As if trying to calm his excited emotions, "I confessed my feelings to Wani today. Did she politely reject you?" Shun Shui comforted him. "Failure is the mother of success. Brother, don't be too upset, keep trying." As Shun Shui spoke these words, a bright smile was clearly visible on her face. However, Shun Rui couldn't see it. Pa, who failed?" Shun Rui shouted. "Don't jinx me like that. Did Wani agree to be your girlfriend?" "Yes, Wani and I are officially together now. Don't treat your brother like some unsellable goods, alright? After all, I'm a tall, rich, and handsome guy." Yeah, I was just joking," Shun Shui chuckled a few times. "My brother is extraordinarily handsome, dashing, reliable, and the heir to both the Shun and Yu families. He's a 1 in a million catch. Impossible to find even with a lantern." Listening to his sister's flattering praise, Shun Rui also smiled. "That's more like it." At that moment, a knock came from the door, and Jiang Lu's voice sounded through it. "President Shun, the meeting is about to start." "Alright, I'll be right there," Shun Shui called out to the door before saying to Shun Rui on the other end of the phone, "Brother, I wish you and Wani eternal love and a happy marriage till old age. I have to go now." Hearing Shun Shui's words, Shun Rui was about to say something, but she had already hung up. However, eternal love and a happy marriage till old age with Ningguani sounds really great. Shun Rui couldn't help but smile, feeling elated all afternoon. During the afternoon board meeting, Shun Shui presented a proposal for a new project. Before this, Shun Shui had mentally prepared herself for potential deliberate challenges from board members. Unexpectedly, after she presented the proposal, she received support from the majority of the board members. After the meeting, Shun Shui went to Old Master Yu's office, after hearing her doubts. Old Master Yu wore an expression of complete understanding and said to Shun Shui, "Those old fellows are the most shrewd and pragmatic. On one hand, it's because your proposal was indeed very well done. On the other hand, it's because of your identity. Shui, you are my own granddaughter, one of the Yu family heirs. Besides that, you are also Jiu Zua's wife, the president's wife of Junfeng Group." Shun Shui suddenly understood and nodded, saying, "So that's how it is." With the close cooperation between the two companies, the future development of the Yu family doesn't need to be worried about at all. They supported me out of respect for Ziyue, Old Man Yu said. "Exactly, it's not about any individual they're eyeing, but the benefits that come with them." In the evening, Jiu Ziyue came as usual to pick Shun Shui up from work, and the couple headed home together. After returning home, Shun Shui changed into casual clothes and took the children and Shelley out for a walk downstairs. Listening to Chen Chen and 1111 talk about the little things that happened at school today, and watching Shelley run around on the lawn, Shun Shui was thoroughly enjoying the tranquility of the moment. As if the fatigue from a day's work had completely dissipated. Chapter 138, Jiu Shiu's Distress. Around 10 p.m., at Yujiang Mansion, dressed in a white silk nightgown, Shun Shui leaned against the bedside, engrossed in the book in her hands, occasionally turning a page. Jiu Zua walked out of the bathroom and lay down beside Shun Shui, propping his head up with one hand, his gaze burning as he stared at her. His presence was impossible to ignore. Shun Shui glanced at him. "Why are you staring at me like that?" Jiu Zua's Adam's apple bobbed slightly as he spoke in a deep, husky voice. "Shui, let's rest early, okay, alright." Shun Shui closed the book, placed it on the nightstand, and casually turned off the lamp. The room plunged into darkness as Jiu Zua pulled her into his embrace with one arm, while his other hand slipped beneath her clothes. A warm kiss landed on her lips, and she wrapped her arms around his neck, responding eagerly to his affection. Just as passion intensified, Shun Shui's phone rang abruptly, shattering the moment. I'll go, answer the phone," but Jiu Zua didn't let her get up. His lips covering hers once more, the phone rang for over a minute, still showing no sign of stopping. Shen Shui slightly closed her eyes, exerting a bit of force as she gently pushed Ji Yuzua's arm. Calling me late at night? There might be something urgent. Let me check who's calling. Seeing her insistence, Ji Yuzua didn't continue to pester her and allowed her to pick up the phone to check. After glancing at the phone screen, Shen Shui turned on the bedside lamp and showed the phone to Ji Yuzua. Seeing that it was Ji Yushiu calling, Ji Yuzua helplessly curled his lips and said, "You answer it." Shen Shui cleared her throat before picking up the call. "Shiyu, it's so late, aren't you resting yet? Sister-in-law, I hope I'm not disturbing you." Ji Yuzua was playing with her hair when Shen Shui slapped the back of his hand, making a sharp smack sound. She said to Ji Yushiu, "It's fine. Go ahead, what happened?" "Sis, tonight Xiao Yang told me his parents are coming to Haicheng tomorrow to see him. Then, the elders asked him to check if I'm free. They'd like to have a meal with me while they're here." Shen Shui asked, "So how do you feel about it? Do you want to meet them or not?" "Of course I want to meet them, it's just a bit too sudden. I'm completely unprepared." Shen Shui could sense Ji Yushiu's unease from her words. If Ji Yushiu and Xiao Yang's relationship progressed smoothly, it would inevitably lead to marriage discussions, making Xiao Yang's parents her future in-laws. Ji Yushiu was worried that Mr. and Mrs. Xiao might not like her. "Shiyu, if you're not mentally prepared yet, you can find an excuse to postpone the meeting for now," Shen Shui continued. "But since you and Xiao Yang are deeply in love, meeting the parents is inevitable sooner or later." "I know, but I'm worried. What if his parents don't like me?" "Shiyu, I don't know Xiao Yang's parents, but I believe that parents who raised such an outstanding son like Xiao Yang must have good character and temperament themselves. As the saying goes, sooner or later, the bride must face her in-laws. The family backgrounds of Ji Yushiu and Xiao Yang are too disparate. Sooner or later, they'll have to face the hurdle of parental approval." "I hope so." After a brief silence on the phone, Ji Yushiu said softly, "Sis, could you help me pick out some clothes tomorrow afternoon? I have work tomorrow and can't get away. You can just send me a video, and we can chat on WeChat," Shen Shui replied. "Or, you could post it in the group chat and let Sangyu give her opinion too." "Alright, that works. Let's talk more tomorrow. Good night." "Good night, Tilda." After hanging up the phone, Shen Shui's mobile was snatched away and tossed aside. Ji Yuzua kissed her lips and held her tightly in his arms. Continuing to finish what had been interrupted earlier, after a bout of intense sweating, Ji Yuzua leaned back against the headboard, wrapping his arm around her shoulders. His voice was low and husky as he asked, "Honey, did Shiyu just call and say she's about to meet Xiao Yang's parents?" Shen Shui nestled weakly against Ji Yuzua and replied softly, "Millimeter. Yes, that little girl is moving fast in her relationship. Is she already talking about marriage?" Xiao Yang's parents came to visit him and also to have a meal with Ji Yushiu. The two haven't been dating for long, so it's probably not yet the time to discuss marriage, Ji Yuzua asked puzzledly. "Then why is she so nervous?" "She's just a bit worried that Xiao Yang's parents might not like her. If they don't like her, then they don't. Does she have to marry Xiao Yang?" Ji Yuzua snorted lightly. "Our Jiyu family's daughter won't have any trouble finding a husband." Shen Shui pinched his arm, looked up into his deep eyes, and asked with a smile, "Then why did you insist on finding me during these 4 years? It's not like you couldn't find a wife. There are plenty of wealthy heiresses in Haicheng who'd love to marry you." "Alright, I misspoke. Love is unique. It has to be that one person and no one else." "Ph, you're such a hypocrite." Shen Shui picked up the nightgown that had fallen to the floor, draped it loosely over herself, and walked into the bathroom without looking back. While she was showering, Ji Yuzua pushed the door open and entered. After she finished bathing, he considerately helped her dry the water droplets from her body. The couple lay in bed embracing each other as they fell asleep, drifting together into sweet dreams. The next afternoon, Xiao Yang entered Shen Shui's office and told her that she needed to take half a day off due to family matters. "Yes, you're going to the airport to pick up your parents, right?" Hearing Shen Shui ask this, Xiao Yang immediately knew that Ji Yushiu had told her about it. Xiao Yang nodded with a smile and said, "Yes, my parents are coming to Haicheng to visit me, and they might stay for about a week." "Alright, you should get going now. Don't keep your parents waiting, then I'll be off first." Xiao Yang turned and walked out of the office. Watching Qiao Yang's retreating figure, Shun Shui silently wished in her heart that the young couple would have smooth sailing in their relationship. Not long after, Ji Yushiu's messages came one after another, flooding the WeChat group. Ji Yushiu sent photos of various outfits, asking Shun Shui and Sheng Sungyu to help her choose clothes suitable for meeting Qiao Yang's parents. Shun Shui selected a light blue knit sweater paired with an off-white skirt and light-colored flats for Ji Yushiu. Sheng Sungyu also thought Shun Shui made a great choice, gentle, intelligent, poised, and beautiful in a non-intimidating way, exactly the type elders would adore. Ji Yushiu, okay, I'll go with this outfit then. Shun Shui, don't be nervous, you've got to believe in yourself. Sheng Sungyu, go for it. Chapter 139. Ji Yushiu meets her future in-laws after picking up his parents at the airport. Qiao Yang first took them home to rest before heading out later for dinner with Ji Yushiu. Having been on the plane for over 2 hours, Qiao's mother looked somewhat tired but kept talking to Qiao Yang throughout the journey. The family of 3 chatted in the car. And after about 20 minutes, the car pulled into the parking lot of the residential complex where Qiao Yang lived. The apartment Qiao Yang bought has 3 bedrooms and 2 living rooms. Purchased outright through her own hard work, although located in the suburbs, it has all the necessary facilities nearby. Whether it's healthcare, education, or daily life, everything is very convenient. Qiao Yang's parents have visited several times, so this time they were already familiar with the place. After returning home with Qiao Yang, her parents immediately put their luggage in the room they had stayed in before and started unpacking right away. Mother Qiao even ran her hand over the wardrobe, and only after seeing no dust on her fingers did she nod in satisfaction. After organizing the clothes and daily necessities, the elderly couple finally stepped out of the living room. Qiao Yang sat on the living room sofa, brewing a pot of their favorite pu'er tea, with a box of pastries also placed on the coffee table. Yang, why did you specially buy pastries? Mother Qiao sat down on the sofa and said softly, we're getting older and shouldn't eat too many sweet foods. Father Qiao didn't speak, just sat beside her and nodded silently. The 2 elderly are in very good health, which also benefits from their usual attention to wellness. They still farm in their hometown, just to keep their bodies active. Mom, I know you don't eat much dessert. These are pastries from Shiyu's shop, low in sugar and fat, you can try a small bite. Father Qiao asked, oh, did Shiyu make this herself? Qiao Yang nodded slightly. Yes, she did. Well then, we must try it, said Mother Qiao, picking up a small spoon to taste a bite of the mango cheesecake. Father Qiao also took a spoon and sampled a bite of the blueberry cake. After tasting the food, the elderly couple nodded in approval, praising Ji Yushiyu's culinary skills. I remember you mentioning that Shiyu opened a cafe, and I assumed she had hired people to run it. I had no idea her skills were this impressive. Mrs. Qiao had indeed jumped to conclusions, hearing that Ji Yushiu came from a well-off family. She assumed it was just a rich girl's whim, opening a shop for fun. After tasting Ji Yushiu's craftsmanship, Mrs. Qiao completely changed her mind. It was definitely a plus. She does have baristas and pastry chefs at her shop, but her own skills surpass all of them. Qiao Yang praised without holding back. Yes, I know she's wonderful, Mother Qiao said with a smile. Yang, I trust your judgment, Qiao Yang affirmed confidently. Once you meet her, you'll definitely like her. If his parents didn't like Ji Yushiu, would he give up on her? Regarding this question, Qiao Yang had indeed considered it. His answer was, he would not give up. If his parents objected to him being with Ji Yushiu, he would try to mediate and persuade them as much as possible. Even if his parents refused to change their minds, Qiao Yang would still stand his ground. Of course, the likelihood of this happening should be very small, based on Qiao Yang's understanding of his parents. They would probably like Ji Yushiu too. At a little past 6 in the evening, Qiao Yang took his parents out and drove to the reserved restaurant. Ji Yushiu had arrived early and was waiting in the lobby. Seeing Qiao Yang's car arrive, she quickly went out to greet them. Mr. and Mrs. Qiao were sitting in the back seat. After they got out of the car, Ji Yushiu smiled gently and said softly, Uncle, Auntie, hello, Mr. Qiao smiled and said, you must be Shiyu, right? Hello there, Shiyu, you're so pretty. Fair-skinned and elegant, Mrs. Qiao nodded at her with a smile. Jiyu Shiyu was wearing a light blue knit sweater and a beige midi skirt, appearing gentle and well-behaved, with poised and graceful manners. As for first impressions, Mr. and Mrs. Qiao were quite satisfied with Jiyu Shiyu. Qiao Yang closed the car door behind her, stepped forward to take Jiyu Shiyu's hand, and gently squeezed her palm. This gesture seemed to reassure her, as if saying, "Don't worry, I'm here." It inexplicably made Jiyu Shiyu feel at ease, and her tension eased significantly. She looked up at Qiao Yang, a smile appearing at the corners of her lips. The four of them entered the restaurant, and after Qiao Yang gave his surname, the waiter led them to the private room that had been reserved in advance. During the conversation, Qiao Yang's parents casually mentioned the situation in their hometown. While carefully observing Jiyu Shiyu's reaction, Jiyu Shiyu didn't show any sign of disdain. Instead, she said with great interest, "I'm very curious about the place where Qiao Yang grew up. He told me it's a place with beautiful mountains and clear waters, and the air is fresh. If I get the chance, I'd really love to see it for myself." Hearing Jiyu Shiyu's words, Qiao Yang's parents exchanged a glance. Seeing the same emotion reflected in each other's eyes, they were quite satisfied with Jiyu Shiyu. Qiao Yang had managed to make his way out of a small town, and his parents never expected him to return to their rural hometown to live. Naturally, their future daughter-in-law wouldn't necessarily have to adapt to rural life either. As long as she didn't look down on their hometown, that would be enough. After all, that place was Qiao Yang's roots. One must not forget one's roots. During the meal, Qiao Yang's parents shared trivial matters from their hometown, while Jiyu Shiyu also recounted some amusing anecdotes from her childhood. Upon hearing that Jiyu Shiyu grew up in a military compound, Qiao's parents finally understood why she seemed like an ordinary family's child, without a trace of arrogance or extravagance. Children from military families are usually raised with strict discipline, cultivating independence and self-reliance from an early age. The meal concluded in a warm and joyful atmosphere. Jiyu Shiyu stood at the restaurant entrance, waving at them as she watched Qiao Yang's car drive away before she got into her own car and left. As the car merged into the flow of traffic, Qiao's mother turned to look back, but Jiyu Shiyu was already out of sight. She straightened up, gazed ahead, and softly remarked, "Shiyu is truly a wonderful girl, Mr." Qiao nodded in agreement. That's right. Although she comes from a wealthy family, she's no different from kids in ordinary households. There's not a trace of a spoiled rich girl's temper. She's generous, well-mannered, and very talkative. Only, Mrs. Qiao's voice suddenly trailed off. She glanced at Qiao Yang but didn't continue. Only what? Qiao Yang's heart leaped to his throat. What else could his mother possibly find unsatisfactory about Jiyu Shiyu? Mrs. Qiao sighed and said slowly, "Only, Shiyu's conditions are too good, Yang. Our family isn't a match for the Jiyu family." Father Qiao quickly added, "Yang, although our family isn't wealthy, we don't want to climb the social ladder, nor do we covet their family's money. Finding a daughter-in-law with both good looks and character is already quite a challenge. Jiyu Shiyu's family is extremely wealthy, and her father is an officer who has made significant contributions. The Jiyu family has both money and influence. It's truly beyond what an ordinary family like ours can match." Qiao Yang said in a low voice, "Dad, Mom, I've already considered these issues before. When I marry Shiyu in the future, I'll sign a prenuptial agreement with her. I also have the ability to support my wife and children. Alright, since you've already thought it through, we'll support your decision." These words from Father Qiao made Qiao Yang breathe a sigh of relief, meaning that the elderly couple had no objections, and he and Shiyu could continue moving forward. Father and Mother Qiao were not unreasonable people. Their own son had even thought of a prenuptial agreement. Clearly, his heart had long been firmly tied to Jiyu Shiyu. Qiao Yang had already been planning their future together. Chapter 140, Reluctant to Part. After 9 in the evening, once both children had fallen asleep, Shun Shuwei tiptoed out of the children's room. As she passed by the study, she heard Jiyu Ziyue on a phone call. He was speaking in English, likely in a meeting with the overseas branch office. Shun Shuwei didn't disturb him and went straight downstairs. Lying on the sofa to play with her phone, she planned to wait until Jiyu Ziyue finished his work. Then the couple would go to bed together. Thinking about Jiyu Shiyu having dinner with Qiao Yang's parents tonight, Shun Shuwei sent a concerned message in their 3-person WeChat group. "Shiyu, did everything go smoothly tonight?" Sheng Sangyu immediately followed up and asked, "You should have finished dinner by now, right? How did it go?" After about 5 or 6 minutes, Ji Shiu replied. After meeting them, his parents were smiling the whole time. "I think it went pretty smoothly, Shun Shui. That's great to hear everything went well, Ji Shiu, but I can't really tell what his parents truly think. Maybe they were just being polite to me. Even if they don't like me, they wouldn't show it in front of me." Sheng Sangyu. "Then why don't you send a message and ask Qiao Yang?" Shun Shui. No, it's better not to ask via message. If his parents see it, they might think you're too eager. That would significantly lower their impression of you, Ji Shiu, so I just have to wait anxiously. Shun Shui. "You can ask Qiao Yang in person tomorrow. He's working as usual tomorrow." Sheng Sangyu. "Shui has been through this before and has more experience than I do. You'd better listen to her and ask Qiao Yang in person tomorrow, Ji Shiu. Alright. I'll hold back and ask Qiao Yang about it tomorrow." The three of them chatted about other things. Sheng Sangyu had already received the news that the role she auditioned for last time was finally confirmed. She would be playing the female lead. Sheng Sangyu successfully landed the role, and both Ji Shiu and Shun Shui were very happy for her. They suggested getting together sometime to celebrate her landing the part. As they chatted, Shun Shui grew so drowsy that she fell asleep on the sofa. Ji Zhua had just finished a video conference with the overseas branch and stepped out of his study when he heard a thud. Standing on the second-floor corridor, he looked down and saw Shun Shui asleep on the sofa. Her phone had fallen to the floor, but even that hadn't woken her. Ji Zhua walked downstairs, bent down, and scooped her up in his arms. He carried her back to the room, gently laid her on the bed, and tucked her in. Looking down at her peaceful sleeping face, he leaned over, brushed aside her stray hair, and kissed her forehead. "Good night." The next noon, Ji Shiu felt it wasn't very convenient to talk in the shop, so she invited Qiao Yang out for lunch. During the meal, neither of them spoke much, eating quietly. After the meal, Ji Shiu suddenly spoke up. I want to ask you a question." Qiao Yang looked up at her, a smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. "Let me guess, you probably want to ask how my parents felt about you." Ji Shiu quickly nodded. "Yes. Exactly. I didn't expect you to hold back until now to ask me," Qiao Yang said with a laugh. "My parents like you very much and said they would support my decision." Hearing Qiao Yang's words, Ji Shiu finally felt relieved, her face blossoming into a bright smile. "Okay, then I can rest easy." It seems Qiao Yang's parents were quite satisfied with her. Qiao Yang reached out, holding her right hand resting on the table, and said softly, "Shiu, in my heart, you're perfect beyond reproach." Ji Shiu's cheeks flushed pink as she whispered to him, "In my heart, you're the same." In the eyes of those in love, each other is unique and flawless. After gazing deeply at each other for a moment, Ji Shiu asked with concern, "Are you okay going to work today? Will your parents be uncomfortable?" "It's fine. My parents have been to Haicheng many times and are quite familiar with the area. There won't be any issues." Qiao Yang replied, "My mom went out early this morning to buy groceries, saying she wanted to make chicken soup for me." "Your parents are so good to you." Zhou nodded and said, "Yeah, although he was quite strict with me when I was little, he still cared about me a lot." Ji Shiu rested her chin on one hand, pouted her lips, and said helplessly, "My dad hasn't returned to Haicheng for a long time. I was actually planning to go back and see him recently." Zhou asked, "So when do you plan to go back? Have you bought the plane tickets yet?" "I haven't bought the tickets yet. It's just that my brother and sister-in-law are about to have their wedding soon, and my parents will come for it. Since I'll get to see them anyway, I won't go back for now." Ji Shiu guessed in her heart that if time permitted, her parents might also want to meet Qiao Yang. Her mother had met Qiao Yang before, but at that time, she wasn't in a relationship with him yet. Of course, this was just Ji Shiu's speculation. She could only bring it up to Qiao Yang after her parents mentioned it first. The two sat and chatted for a long time. It wasn't until it was almost time for Qiao Yang to go to work that they finally got up to leave. Qiao Yang held Ji Shiu's hand as they walked forward, the cool autumn breeze rustling the branches, causing leaves to drift down with the wind. Ji Shiu said softly, "The weather is getting cooler." Qiao Yang replied with concern, "Yes. The temperature difference between morning and evening is growing larger. Remember to wear a jacket when you go out." They soon arrived at the entrance of the cafe. Still holding hands, reluctant to let go, Ji Yu glanced around to ensure no one was watching, then stood on tiptoe to plant a fleeting, butterfly-light kiss on his lips. Alright, you should hurry back to work now. If you're late, my sister-in-law won't spare your paycheck just for my sake. Ji Yu released his hand, the warmth in her palm quickly fading. While you make a valid point, I'm part of management, we don't clock in for work. Ji Yu burst into a soft laugh. Got it, my boyfriend is a super amazing company executive. Xiao Yang affectionately tapped the tip of her nose and said tenderly, then I'll head to work first. Go on, go on. Ji Yu waved her hand. Ji Yu stood in place, watching as Xiao Yang walked toward the company. Xiao Yang kept looking back every few steps, waving at Ji Yu each time. Chapter 141. A small gathering at the bar. At 8 in the evening, after finishing dinner at home, Shun Shuwei went out alone to meet up with friends. Arriving at the Red Moon Bar, Shun Shuwei parked the car, grabbed her bag, and stepped out, heading inside. The bar was bathed in dim, flickering lights, the air thick with the mingled scents of alcohol and tobacco. Customers sat in small groups, chatting over drinks. There was a female singer with long hair cascading over her shoulders, sitting on a high stool on the stage, holding a microphone and singing. Her voice carried a touch of melancholy and grace as she sang Audrey Hepburn's Moon River. Shun Shuwei took a few more steps inside and saw Ji Yu and Sheng Sangyu sitting in a semicircular booth. Ji Yu also noticed Shun Shuwei and raised her glass of red wine, slowly swirling it in a deliberate motion. Sheng Sangyu dressed very low-key to avoid being recognized, even wearing a pair of non-prescription glasses. Aha, you guys started drinking so quickly. Shun Shuwei walked over and sat down next to Sheng Sangyu. Ji Yu teased with a grin, that's because you came too late, as she poured wine into an empty glass. Sheng Sangyu said to them, people with husbands and kids are just different from us. After all, you have no idea how much I envy you all. Before marriage, you're so free. Just change your shoes, grab a bag, and you can head out the door immediately, Shunsha said with a smile. Ji Yu treats you so well, and Chen Chen and 1111 are so adorable. We're envious of you too. Exactly, exactly. Ji Yu nodded repeatedly, agreeing with Sheng Sangyu's words. Shunsha raised her glass, beaming as she said, come on, let's make a toast to celebrate Sangyu successfully securing the script she wanted. The three raised their red wine glasses and clinked them together, producing a crisp sound. Congratulations, congratulations Tilda. Thank you, Sheng Sangyu said with a slight smile. To be honest, I was really surprised when I got the news. Shun Shuwei raised an eyebrow and asked, what's so surprising about that? Your looks and acting skills are both great. Landing this role is well deserved. Sheng Sangyu shook her head lightly. It has nothing to do with these. I heard rumors that the investors of this drama already had their preferred actress in mind before the audition. The audition was just a formality. That's a bit strange. Shun Shuwei's eyes flickered with a hint of deeper meaning. Wait a minute. The biggest investor of this drama is Xingsan Film and Television Company, under the Ji family, now that Ji Jingzhan has taken over Xingsan Film and Television. It just so happens that the female lead role of this drama was secured by Sheng Sangyu. Is it possible that the so-called predetermined female lead is actually Sheng Sangyu? This drama was tailor-made for Sheng Sangyu by Ji Jingzhan, but Sheng Sangyu simply doesn't know it yet. The more Shun Shuwei pondered, the closer she felt to the truth. Noticing Shun Shuwei's distraction, Sheng Sangyu nudged her arm and said, Shuwei, what are you spacing out for, getting sleepy this early? No. I was just thinking about work. Shun Shuwei smiled and continued, you don't need to overthink it either. You've already secured the role, just focus on performing well. My sister-in-law is right, Sangyu, you shouldn't overthink it. Maybe they changed their mind because they saw your great acting skills and how well your image fits the character. Ji Yu gently patted Sheng Sangyu's shoulder. Well, maybe that's the case. Sheng Sangyu nodded. Shun Shuwei took a sip of red wine and casually asked, so when do you start filming? Sheng Sangyu replied, there are still some supporting roles that haven't been finalized yet. The tentative plan is to start filming 2 months later, which would be after your wedding. Shun Shuwei nodded with a smile. Then let's spend more time together these days. Once you start filming, you might have to stay on set for over half a year. Ji Yu asked in surprise. Half a year, will it take that long? Yes, Sheng Sung-yu said slowly. No matter how good the acting is, it's rare to get a perfect take in one go, especially for the highlight scenes. The director might shoot them over a dozen times to pick the best one. Ji Shiu never used to be a fan of celebrities and wasn't very familiar with the entertainment industry. It wasn't until she met Sheng Sung-yu that she gained some understanding of this circle. They were chatting happily when a beverage salesperson approached them with a bottle of red wine. Dear esteemed guests, pardon the interruption. The voice sounded familiar. Shen Shuai turned her head to look at the person. Oh, it's actually Lin Yunyu. This person is really like a lingering ghost. Wherever you go, you run into her. The lighting in the bar booth was quite dim. It wasn't until Lin Yunyu got closer that she could clearly see the people sitting inside. All of them were familiar faces. The expression on Lin Yunyu's face became very complicated. After a dazed pause, she ultimately turned and walked away without saying a word. Asking her to promote red wine to Shen Shuai was truly something Lin Yunyu couldn't bring herself to do. Moreover, Lin Yunyu knew deep down that no matter how hard she tried to promote it, none of the three would buy it. Lin Yunyu recalled that the one sitting in the middle seemed to be Sheng Sung-yu. A sly smile curled at the corners of her lips as she swayed her hips, carrying 2 bottles of wine toward the table where several men sat. After Lin Yunyu walked away, Ji Shiu waved her hand dismissively and complained, "What rotten luck running into her here, who knows what perfume she's wearing." "It's absolutely suffocating," Sheng Sung-yu remarked. "The fragrance is overpowering, truly unpleasant." Did she empty half the bottle on herself? Shen Shuai gave a faint, indifferent smile and said, "Who can say? Well, she's at least a returnee from abroad." Ji Shiu asked puzzledly, "How could she end up working in a bar? First, she's been to prison and has a criminal record. Second, working in a bar pays well and fast." Shen Shuai's analysis hit the nail on the head. Lin Yunyu had a criminal record, so no reputable company would hire her. She could only take on odd jobs here and there to earn rent and living expenses. Sheng Sung-yu added, "The university she attended abroad was one you could get into just by paying. It holds no real value." Shen Shuai glanced at Lin Yunyu a few more times and suddenly felt something was amiss. "Girls, grab your bags, we need to get ready to make a run for it." Hearing Shen Shuai's words, Ji Shiu and Sheng Sung-yu both wore expressions of confusion. Make a run for it? Why? Shen Shuai was burning with anxiety and said to them, "Let's leave first, I'll explain to you later." Out of trust in Shen Shuai, the two of them didn't ask any more questions. They picked up their bags and stood up to leave. After they stood up, the men who had been talking to Lin Yunyu immediately got up and chased after them. "Run!" Shen Shuai grabbed Ji Shiu and Sheng Sung-yu, pulling them along as they ran. Spotting the back door not far ahead, they dashed through it without hesitation. The men were still chasing after them, shouting something incessantly. Chapter 142. Climbing the iron gate late at night, they ran out through the back door, only to find themselves in a dimly lit alley. The path leading outside was blocked by a locked iron gate. Sheng Sung-yu quickly spotted a small warehouse nearby. They hurried inside and shut the door behind them. The warehouse was actually a storage room, filled with some tables, chairs, and stools, as well as numerous wine glasses of various shapes. Hiding inside, they held their breath, not daring to make a sound. The voices of those men came through from outside the door. They ran so fast. Where did they go? There's no path here. Did they climb over the iron gate? Sigh, that beautiful woman said Sheng Sung-yu was sitting in that booth. I really wanted to ask for her autograph. Yeah, I didn't expect them to leave so soon. What a shame. Was that really Sheng Sung-yu just now? Even though she was wearing glasses, I think it looked a lot like her. Forget it, even if it really was Sheng Sung-yu. She's on a private trip now. We shouldn't have disturbed her in the first place. It's rare to meet a big star, so I just wanted an autograph, and if possible, a photo together. From the conversation of those people outside the door, it wasn't hard to tell that they came for Sheng Sung-yu. They didn't have any ill intentions. They just heard from Lin Yunyu that Sheng Sung-yu was sitting there and wanted to come over for a photo with her. They finally breathed a sigh of relief but still didn't open the door to go out. Outside was a dimly lit alley. No one could be sure if those men, faced with 3 stunningly beautiful women, might have other ideas. Let's go, back to drinking. Then came the sound of their departing footsteps and the noise of the back door opening. Even after confirming those men had left, they still waited several minutes before speaking. Jiyu Shiyu cursed under her breath, then whispered. Lin Yunyu is really damnable. She's always been like this, full of petty schemes. Shen Shuwei had experienced this many times before. Sheng Sungyu also gritted her teeth in anger. What the hell, ruined our good mood, if they hadn't walked away earlier. Those people crowding around Sheng Sungyu to take photos would have inevitably drawn others' attention. This way, many would have found out Sheng Sungyu was here, likely causing some unnecessary trouble. What should we do now? Jiyu Shiyu said, should we call my brother, or maybe Qiao Yang? Shen Shuwei shook her head and said, if they drive here, it'll take at least 20 minutes, maybe half an hour at most, Sheng Sungyu suggested. Then let's climb over the iron gate. At these words, all three of them looked down at their clothes. They were all wearing skirts, but none were tight or short. Climbing over the iron gate probably wouldn't be a problem. Shen Shuwei opened the door a crack, peeked outside to make sure no one was there, then turned back and nodded at them. Pulling the door open and stepping outside, Jiyu Shiyu stood by the iron gate and immediately started climbing without a word. Having practiced martial arts since childhood, a mere lattice iron gate was nothing to her. After Jiyu Shiyu nimbly climbed over, Shen Shuwei and Sheng Sungyu first threw their bags over, then took off their shoes and tossed their high heels across as well. They carefully climbed up the iron gate, crossed over to the other side, and climbed down. Jiyu Shiyu stepped forward to give them a helping hand. Once all three had made it over, they let out a light sigh of relief, bent down to put on their shoes, and headed toward the parking lot. Just now in the bar, Sheng Sungyu was almost recognized by someone. Afraid of running into those people again, they got into the car to wait for the designated driver to arrive, then each went home. After returning home, Shen Shuwei walked into the living room and collapsed directly onto the sofa. Perhaps hearing the sound of Shen Shuwei opening the door, Jiyu Ziyu came out of the study and slowly walked downstairs. Seeing Shen Shuwei lying on the sofa, Jiyu Ziyu sat beside her and asked with concern, Shuwei, are you feeling unwell from drinking too much? Let me make you some sobering soup. Shen Shuwei quickly grabbed his wrist and said, no need, I didn't drink much, I just want to lie down for a while. Noticing her unusual expression, he asked gently, what's wrong? Weren't you drinking with Shiyu and Sungyu? Did they upset you? No, it's not them. Shen Shuwei shifted slightly forward, resting her head on Jiyu Ziyu's lap, and continued, we ran into someone unpleasant at the bar. Jiyu Ziyu slightly furrowed his brows, lost in thought for a few seconds. Lin Yunyu, yes, her. She's truly beyond redemption, even after being reduced to working at a bar. She still keeps up with her petty schemes. Upon hearing this, a cold glint flashed through Jiyu Ziyu's eyes. What has she done this time? She didn't do anything directly to us, it's just that she recognized Sungyu, while promoting drinks at other tables. She casually mentioned to those people that Sheng Sungyu was also in the bar at that moment. At the time, the people she was talking to kept looking in our direction. I had a bad feeling about it. So I grabbed Shiyu and Sungyu and we ran out through the back door. Who would have thought that after running out the back door, it would be a dead end, one side blocked by a wall, the other by a locked iron gate. Hearing this, Jiyu Ziyu took a sharp breath, his brows tightly furrowed. Shuwei, you should have called me immediately. How did you all get out in the end? Shen Shuwei continued. There was a storage room with tables and chairs next to it, so we hid inside and closed the door. We thought those people were here to cause trouble, but it turned out they were Sanyu's fans. They just wanted photos and autographs. Still, we didn't dare to come out. After they left, we climbed over the iron gate to get away. Fortunately, the bar required payment upfront, or else their sudden escape would have counted as skipping the bill. You did the right thing. Some obsessive fans can be really scary these days. Jiyu Ziyu asked softly. Did you get hurt when you climbed over the iron gate? It's nothing. I just got a bit startled. After coming home, I just wanted to lie down on the sofa for a while. In the future, if you go out at night, either take me or a bodyguard. You choose one. This, Shen Shuwei gave an awkward smile. Isn't that a bit unnecessary? There wasn't any real danger tonight. With so many people around, they wouldn't dare do anything. We only ran out to avoid someone recognizing Sangyu. Lin Yunyu has no bottom line. As you well know, I'm afraid she might pull some stunt again. Shuwei, I'm just worried about you. Jiyu Ziyu's deep and profound gaze fixed on her, leaving her no room for refusal. She could only nod helplessly. Alright, I'll listen to you. Shun Shuai had witnessed Lin Yunua's bouts of madness several times already. Jiyu Ruochen and Jiyu Ruoshi usually went to school accompanied not only by the driver and Aunt Zhong but also by bodyguards. For the safety of the children, Shun Shuai had never dismissed the bodyguards. When Lin Yunyu goes crazy, she wouldn't even spare a 3-year-old child. Shun Shuai couldn't let the children face any danger. Chapter 143, Simple and Pure Happiness. The next morning, Shun Shuai woke up in Jiuziu's arms and slowly opened her eyes. Jiuziu had already been awake for a while, but he stayed still with his eyes closed to avoid disturbing her rest. Awake. He slightly lowered his head and kissed her on the forehead. Shun Shuai yawned and lazily responded, After falling asleep last night, she had been dreaming non-stop. In her dream, she was being chased, and it was absolutely terrifying. So now, even after waking up, she still felt a bit sleepy. Jiu noticed the slight redness at the corners of her eyes as she yawned and asked softly, "Didn't sleep well? Do you want to rest a bit longer?" "No, let's go for a morning run downstairs. Some fresh air will wake me up quickly." "Alright." After washing up and changing, the couple left their room together. Aunt Zhong was cooking porridge in the kitchen when she saw Shun Shuai and Jiu coming downstairs in their workout clothes. She casually remarked, "Good morning, Mr. Jiu, Madam. Are you heading out for a morning run?" Shun Shuai walked to the shoe bench by the entrance, sitting down to put on her shoes while saying, "Yes, we're going out for a run. When the kids wake up later, could you help look after them?" "Ah, sure," replied Sister Zhong before continuing with her work. The riverside in the early morning carried a slight chill, with November just around the corner. The temperature was dropping day by day. In Haicheng, winter temperatures could plunge to -5 or 6 degrees at their coldest. Shun Shuai could only hope that the temperature wouldn't be too low on the day of the wedding. The young couple jogged by the river for over half an hour, and by the time they got home, the kids were already awake. Jiu Ruochen had finished washing up and was changing clothes in the walk-in closet. Jiu Ruoshi was still hugging her bunny plushie, lingering in bed and reluctant to go brush her teeth and wash her face. 11:11. "Hurry up and brush your teeth, it's time for breakfast," urged Aunt Zhong repeatedly. Shun Shuai passed by the children's room on her way back to the master bedroom and overheard Nanny Zhong's words. She stepped inside and said to Jiu Ruoshi, 11:11, "If you don't want to wash your face and brush your teeth, then you can stay home and play with Nanny Zhong today. We'll take your brother to visit Grandpa and Grandma." I want to go too." Jiu Ruoshi immediately jumped off the bed and ran to the sink to obediently brush her teeth. Nanny Zhong shook her head helplessly. "You're the only one who can handle her. After all, she was still young, and Jiu Ruoshi could be a bit mischievous at times. Only Shun Shuai could persuade her." Shun Shuai walked into the children's dressing room and saw that Jiu Ruochen had already dressed himself. She smiled and praised, "Chen Chen has already changed his clothes, so well behaved." "Mom, is sister still not up? She's already awake and brushing her teeth now." Shun Shuai felt that her son's jacket was a bit thin, so she rummaged through the wardrobe and found a thicker one for him. "It's colder today than yesterday, so I need to wear a thicker coat." Jiu Ruochen raised his arm, letting Shun Shuai help him change into another coat. After changing Jiu Ruochen's coat, Shun Shuai then went to their daughter's wardrobe and took out the clothes she needed to wear. Only after completing these tasks did she return to the master bedroom to shower and change. After breakfast, the couple drove their children back to the Jiu family home. The elders of the Jiu family were overjoyed to see Jiu Ruochen and Jiu Ruoshi, showering the little ones with affection and speaking to them tenderly. With the children surrounded by the elders, Shun Shuai and Jiu Zeue found themselves free of responsibilities. The young couple strolled hand in hand through the garden. After walking for a while, Shun Shuai suddenly noticed that a certain part of the garden seemed to have changed. "Zeue, if I remember correctly, that area used to be planted with tulips. Now what's growing there is," Shun Shuai said with some surprise, "vegetables." Jiu Zeue nodded and said, "Yes, Mom mentioned it to me. I thought it was a small matter, so I didn't specifically bring it up with you, seeing how much the kids enjoy picking vegetables from the garden." Mom decided to uproot that flower field and replace it with vegetables. Didn't Mom really like tulips? She does like tulips, but she loves Chen Chen and 1111 even more. Jiu Zeue held Shun Shuai's hand and continued walking forward. Mom also had some fruit trees planted. Let me take you to see them. Seeing the vast stretches of orchards, Shun Shui once again marveled at her mother-in-law's thoughtfulness. Every type of fruit tree that could thrive in the local climate had been planted under Li Peiji's arrangements. These trees were all at the age to bear fruit, and grapevines had been trained over trellises. Several persimmon trees were laden with bright red fruit, resembling clusters of red lanterns swaying in the breeze. Shun Shui murmured softly, "Mom really went to great lengths." Jiu Ziyue smiled and said, "As long as the kids are happy, everything else is easy to discuss." The couple strolled leisurely back, and as they neared the fountain, they heard the children's cheerful laughter. They walked over and saw the two children playing with toy cars. Jiu Ruochen's is a black Porsche Kids car, while Jiu Ruosh's is a pink Beetle-style one. These children's cars are powered by two pedals, one for forward and one for reverse, with stopping when the foot is released. Steering is controlled by the wheel. The operation is very simple, and the kids picked it up right away. Li Peiji stood by, watching the children affectionately, and asked, "Are Grandma's little cars fun to play with?" Jiu Ruochen immediately replied, "So fun." Jiu Ruoshi also replied with a smile, "Grandma, I love it so much. As long as you like it, be careful not to bump into the flower beds." Li Peiji reminded them. Shun Shui and Jiu Ziyue walked over and stood beside Li Peiji. Peiji Li turned to her daughter-in-law and asked softly, "Shui, have you been to see the orchard and vegetable garden?" "Yes, we just went to see them." Shun Shui nodded gently. "They're very well maintained. You can also eat the fruits and vegetables we grow there. Indeed, let me tell you, I'm the one taking care of those vegetables now. The ones you grow yourself seem to taste especially good." Shun Shui asked with concern, "Oh, such a large vegetable plot. Can you manage it all, Mom? Won't it be too tiring for you?" Li Peiji said with a smile. "It's fine, there's still your dad. Moving around is good, and it makes me sleepy early in the evening," Shun Shui said. "If it's too tiring, let the servants help out." "Okay, we won't overdo it," Li Peiji replied with a smile, knowing her daughter-in-law was concerned about her health. The two little ones, seeing their parents there too, drove their toy cars over and stopped beside them, happily saying, "Dad, Mom, look at the toy cars Grandma bought for us, Tilda. It's really fun, really." "Then let Mommy have a try." "Okay," Shun Shui said softly. "Mommy didn't get to play with this when she was little, and she'd like to try it too." "Sure." Both Jiu Ruochen and Jiu Ruoshi were happy to let their mom have their cars. Jiu Ruochen's car could seat two children. So Shun Shui carried Jiu Ruoshi over and sat in the pink Beetle car herself. Stepping on the pedals, the car slowly moves forward. The mother and her two children drove two cars, circling around the fountain, chasing and playing with each other, having a great time. When Shun Shui plays with the children, she always reveals a childlike side, embodying a pure and simple joy. Jiu Ziyue's gaze followed Shun Shui, his eyes filled with endless tenderness and affection. Chapter 144, The Surprise Wedding Rings. In the afternoon, the elders of the Jiu family and the two little ones all went back to their rooms for a nap. Jiu Ziyue's phone received a message, and after reading it, the corners of his mouth curled up involuntarily. He slipped his phone back into his pocket, then stood up and said to Shun Shui, "Shui, I need to go out for something. I should be back within an hour." "All right, go ahead, drive slowly on the way. There's nothing urgent today, no need to rush back." After speaking to him, Shun Shui lowered her head again to continue reading the magazine in her hands. After Jiu Ziyue left, Shun Shui sat alone on the sofa reading the magazine. On the coffee table were some fruits, snacks, and a cup of coffee. The luxurious and spacious living room was quiet, with only the faint sound of Shun Shui occasionally turning a page. By the time Shun Shui had finished half of the magazine, Jiu Ziyue had already driven back. Shun Shui looked up at him as he approached her and said with some surprise, You finished your business so quickly." Jiu Ziyue nodded slightly and said to her with a smile, "Shui, you've been reading all afternoon, aren't your eyes tired? Would you like to go out for a walk?" "Sure, I've been sitting for so long, I should get up and move around." Shun Shui nodded gently, placed the magazine back on the small bookshelf beside her, and stood up to walk out with Jiu Ziyue. After walking in the garden for more than 10 minutes, Jiu Ziyue led Shun Shui to sit down in the pavilion. Shun Shui blinked her eyes, feeling somewhat puzzled. She always had the sense that he was hiding something, acting so mysteriously. after sitting down. Ji Yuzeue still held her hand tightly and said in a deep voice, "Shui, I just went out to pick up our wedding rings. You got them back. Let me see." Shun Shui herself was a jewelry designer and had originally planned to design the wedding rings personally. But Ji Yuzeue had said that he had already commissioned another excellent designer to start working on them. Shun Shui was curious to see just how stunning the masterpiece designed by the so-called outstanding designer in Ji Yuzeue's eyes could be. In Ji Yuzeue's view, she wasn't the most outstanding jewelry designer. She had truly been disheartened for many days. Though she understood there were always greater talents beyond one's knowledge, as his wife, shouldn't she be the best in his eyes? Ji Yuzeue took out a jewelry box from the pocket of his suit jacket and handed it to Shun Shui. "Take a look and see if you like the design of the rings." Shun Shui opened the jewelry box, and her previously calm face instantly lit up with a joyful smile. Seeing the pair of wedding rings inside the box, she was utterly delighted. Shun Shui was so agitated she couldn't speak. After taking a deep breath, she slowly asked, "How did you get this design draft?" The designer of this pair of wedding rings was none other than Shun Shui. This was a design draft she had drawn in the past. Ever since studying jewelry design, she had been conceptualizing her ideal wedding ring style, and this particular design draft was sketched during her initial marriage to Ji Yuzeue. She had revised it many times over those 2 years, with this being the final version. However, since Ji Yuzeue had already purchased wedding rings at Tiffany, he naturally wouldn't go out of his way to have her designs specially custom-made. This design draft was tucked inside a book and left to gather dust on a high shelf. When Shun Shui moved out after the divorce, she didn't take it with her. "I found this in your study," Ji Yuzeue asked gently. "Do you like these wedding rings?" "I like it, I really like it." Shun Shui raised her head, her gaze resting on his exquisitely sculpted handsome face. At this moment, the unhappiness that had been weighing on her heart began to dissipate like clouds parting. The fact that Ji Yuzeue had found this design draft and even went to the trouble of making it into a finished piece spoke volumes about his deep affection. "Try it on. See if the size fits." Ji Yuzeue took out the diamond ring and carefully slipped it onto Shun Shui's finger. "I'll help you put it on too." Shun Shui took the men's diamond ring from his hand and slipped it onto the ring finger of his left hand. She examined the ring on her hand, gave it a slight twist, and said, "The size fits perfectly." Ji Yuzeue placed his ring-adorned hand next to Shun Shui's. The diamond ring sparkled brilliantly in the sunlight. The center stone of this pair of rings is a pear-cut teardrop diamond, set in a crown-shaped design, embodying Shun Shui's dreamy expectations for marriage and love. Ji Yuzeue held her hand, gazing at her intently. "This diamond is 5.2 carats, representing my deep love for you. 520. I love you." Shun Shui met his gaze. Her eyes filled with tender affection. "Zeue, I love you too." If they weren't sitting in the pavilion but in a room instead, Ji Yuzeue would definitely be holding his beloved wife in his arms, kissing her passionately, expressing their deep love for each other through actions. Ji Yuzeue's Adam's apple moved slightly as he spoke in a low, husky voice. "Shui, every day since we remarried, I've felt incredibly happy, sometimes when I wake up in the middle of the night. I hold you just to make sure I'm not dreaming." Shun Shui smiled tenderly. "You're not dreaming. We've been remarried for several months now. I know, it's just that when I'm happy, I'm afraid of losing it. Only because the love is too deep, one becomes apprehensive of gains and losses." Shun Shui held his hand tightly and said softly, "Don't be afraid, I will always be by your side, unless you change your heart and no longer like me. If that day ever comes, no matter how sad I am, I will still let you go." Ji Yuzeue said with unwavering determination. "That day will never come. We will grow old together." All right, let's grow old together as grandpa and grandma." Shun Shui took off the ring, placed it back into the jewelry box, and asked Ji Yuzeue to keep it safe until the wedding day. Ji Yuzeue tucked the jewelry box into his pocket, and the couple walked hand in hand back to the main villa. It was already evening, with the sunset casting long shadows behind them. Chapter 145, 2 large chests of jewelry. Buzz. The phone on the coffee table vibrated several times. Ji Yuzeue saw that it was Shun Shui's phone, so he picked it up and handed it to her by the bed. Shun Shui took the phone and stared at the screen in surprise. Why would Shen Yuhong be calling her? After hesitating for a few seconds, she still answered the call. Shen Yuhong said in a gentle tone, "Shui, can you come home tomorrow?" Shen Shui asked coldly, "What's the matter?" A soft sigh came from the other end of the phone, and he said slowly, "I have something to give you, come home and get it. You can have the driver deliver it to me, or just send it by courier." "Shui, those items are valuables, you'll need to come and pick them up personally, then I'll see if I have time tomorrow. If there's nothing else, I'll hang up first," Shen Yuhong responded with a touch of melancholy. "Alright, let's leave it at that, get some rest early." Jiu Zhua noticed Shen Shui's furrowed brows and, feeling a pang of heartache, gently wrapped his arm around her shoulders, asking softly, "Shui, what did he say to you?" "He said he had something to give me and asked me to go home tomorrow." Shen Shui suddenly laughed, but as she laughed, her eyes turned red. "Go home. From the moment he kicked me out, that place was no longer my home. Only the Jiu family and the Yu family are my home now. I know your father has done many wrong things, and he hurt both you and your brother. Shui, don't be sad, he's not worth your heartache." Jiu Zhua held her shoulder with one hand and gently patted her back with the other, soothing her emotions in a warm voice. Shen Shui sniffled and said in a low voice, "Yeah, I just feel it's unfair for my mom. She stood by him through thick and thin, bore his children, managed the household, and took care of his parents, and in the end, what did she get? Now he has the nerve to play the victim in front of us." Not long after their mother passed away, Shen Yuhong remarried another woman and completely neglected his own children. He was convinced that Muru was the best and even planned to have her child inherit the family business. "He's a failure as a father and doesn't deserve your forgiveness," Jiu Zhua said. "You don't have to force yourself to forgive him." "Yeah, I know." Shen Shui raised her arms and wrapped them around his waist, inhaling the elegant and pleasant woody fragrance on him. Her low spirits gradually improved. The next morning, after breakfast, Shen Shui still planned to make a trip back to the Shen family home. Since Shen Yuhong said it was something valuable, there was no reason not to take it. Who knows if he'll be charmed by some woman again, and then wouldn't it just be giving someone else an undeserved advantage? Jiu Zhua set down his coffee cup and said to her, "Shui, I'll go with you." Shen Shui shook her head. "No need, I can go by myself." Jiu Ruoshi was somewhat surprised to hear that Shen Shui was going out. "Mom, where are you going? Aren't we supposed to visit great-grandpa later?" "I have to go to." Shen Shui paused for a moment, "an elder's house to pick up some things. I'll be back as soon as I get them. It won't take long. You two wait at home with Dad until I return." "Millimeter, okay." Jiu Ruoshi waved her chubby little hand and said sweetly, "Then you have to come back quickly, Tilda." "Got it. Be good at home, you too." Shen Shui patted the little ones' heads, then turned to the Jiu family elders and nodded slightly. "Grandpa, Mom, Dad, I'll head out now." "Alright, drive carefully." Shen Shui drove alone to the Shen family villa, where Shen Yuhong and the butler, Uncle Yang, were waiting for her at the entrance. Before leaving, she had sent a message to Shen Yuhong, informing him that she was driving over. She wondered how long they had been standing there waiting. As soon as Shen Shui got out of the car, they took a few steps forward and greeted her with smiles. "Shui, miss." Shen Shui gave Shen Yuhong a faint nod, then turned to the butler with a smile. "Uncle Yang." A bitter smile appeared at the corner of Shen Yuhong's lips. His own daughter was all smiles and warmth with the butler, but when it came to him, all he got was a single hum. As Shen Shui stepped into the villa once again, she felt as if a lifetime had passed. Everything before her eyes felt both familiar and strange. Having lived in this villa for 20 years, she knew every room and every corner intimately, yet all the furniture and decorations inside had been replaced by Muru. It was no longer the home she remembered. "The home in my memory died along with Wenjun's passing." Father and daughter sat facing each other, separated by a marble coffee table as if by an insurmountable chasm. The housekeeper brewed a pot of tea and personally poured a cup of hot tea for Shen Shui. Shen Shui slightly curled her fingers, lightly tapped the table, and said with a smile, "Thank you, Uncle Yang, young lady, no need to stand on ceremony." After pouring the tea, the butler stepped aside and stood quietly, not disturbing the father and daughter's conversation. Shen Shui picked up the celadon glazed Ru teacup and took a sip of the richly fragrant black tea. Shen Yuhong gazed at his daughter's delicate and graceful features. She bore a striking resemblance to Yu Wenjun. especially in the moment she lowered her head and eyebrows. It was as if he saw his late wife again. After nearly 5 minutes of silence, he finally spoke. "Shui, wait here for a moment, I'll go fetch something for you." Shin Yuhong got up and went to the study. Taking out 2 large jewelry boxes from the safe, holding one in each hand, he placed them in front of Shin Shui. "These 2 boxes of jewelry, this one was left by your mother, and now I'm passing it on to you," pointing to the other jewelry box. Shin Yuhong said, "As for this one, it's a gift I prepared for you. I know you and Ziyue have remarried, and this is a token of my goodwill." On the way here, Shin Shui had wondered to herself what Shin Yuhong intended to give her. She vaguely guessed it might be the jewelry left by her mother. She just didn't expect Shin Yuhong to add another box for her. After a moment of daze, Shin Shui glanced at Shin Yuhong and softly said, "Thank you." Shin Yuhong sat back on the sofa across from her, seemingly at a loss for how to respond to her gratitude. He clasped his hands together, pressed his lips slightly, and said to Shin Shui, "Between father and daughter, there's no need for thanks." Shin Shui's expression remained unchanged. To her, it was far too late to speak of fatherly affection now. "If there's nothing else, I'll head back first. My husband and child are waiting for me at home. Unlike you, I strive to be a responsible parent. Both Ziyue and I will do our best." "You're right. I truly haven't been a good father." Shin Yuhong's eyes dimmed as he sighed deeply, then stood up and said, "All right, let me walk you to the car." Shin Yuhong and the butler each carried a box of jewelry. Placing them in Shin Shui's Bentley, Shin Shui opened the car door, sat in the driver's seat, and waved to the butler, "Uncle Yang. Goodbye, I'll come see you again when I have time." "Ah, all right," Uncle Yang said with a smile. "Take care on the road, miss. Goodbye." An endless wave of bitterness rose in Shin Yuhong's heart. But the truth was exactly so. Uncle Yang had watched Shin Shui grow up, and the care and concern he provided even surpassed that of Shin Yuhong, her own father. Shin Shui stepped on the accelerator and drove away swiftly from the Shin family villa. Chapter 146. Not perfect enough. Upon returning to the GU residence, after parking the car, Shin Shui sat inside and made a phone call to GU Ziyue, asking him to come out for a moment. Not long after finishing the phone call, GU Ziyue walked out of the house, and Shin Shui then pushed open the car door to step out. Knowing she had gone to the Shin family to retrieve some items, GU Ziyue asked directly, "Shui, is there anything you need me to carry?" "Yes," Shin Shui nodded, walking to the back of the car and opening the trunk. "Here, just these 2 boxes." GU Ziyue stacked the 2 boxes and lifted them both up. "These 2 boxes look like they might contain jewelry." "That's right, they are jewelry boxes," Shin Shui said. "One box contains what my mother left behind, and the other was a wedding gift from him." GU Ziyue raised an eyebrow slightly. Was Shin Yuhong trying to win Shin Shui's forgiveness by buying her off with jewelry? If that was Shin Yuhong's plan, it might just backfire. Shin Shui accepted them, but she wouldn't take them to heart. She didn't care for these things at all. GU Ziyue carried the 2 jewelry boxes back to the room. Shin Shui went upstairs with him. "I'll put this jewelry box away later. I want to open it and take a look first." "All right, I'll lock this jewelry box in the safe first." Shin Shui sat on the single sofa, reaching out to unfasten the lock of the jewelry box and slowly opening it. Inside were numerous diamond necklaces, diamond earrings, jade bracelets, as well as rare-colored jade and gemstones. Each piece was a prized possession of Yu Wenjun, all of considerable value. "I thought all of Mom's jewelry had been taken over by Muru. I never expected him to keep them so well. Thank goodness he kept them safe, otherwise, Muru would have gotten them for nothing," GU Ziyue said. Shin Shui chuckled lightly. "He knows the value of these pieces. He probably just thinks Muru isn't worthy of them. Jewelry of this collector's grade is extremely hard to come by on the market. You'd need connections to buy them or attend international auctions." GU Ziyue shook his head helplessly, at a loss for words. Although Shin Yuhong was his father-in-law in name, GU Ziyue strongly disapproved of his various actions and found them truly hard to justify. Shin Shui gently caressed the jewelry left by her mother, her mind quickly conjuring the image of that gentle and beautiful face. Only those who have experienced the loss of a loved one can truly understand what she was feeling at that moment. Normally, it wasn't that she didn't miss her mother. She just didn't dare to think about her. Every time she did, she couldn't help but feel like crying. "Shui, Ji Yuzua's gaze was filled with heartache and concern. Shun Shui tilted her head back, forcing the tears away, and managed a faint smile. I'm fine, after staring at it for a long while. Shun Shui closed the jewelry box and said softly to Ji Yuzua, all right, help me put it in the safe. Ji Yuzua gave a slight nod, picked up the jewelry box, and walked toward the safe. The phone vibrated in her pocket. Shun Shui took it out and glanced at it. Shen Yuhong had just sent her a message. Shen Yuhong, Shui, I know that because of past events, you and your brother will never forgive me. There's one thing I hope you'll consider carefully. If I'm not present at your wedding with Ziyue, it might lead to much speculation among the guests. Though you may not care, it would still leave things incomplete. Please think it over. I respect your decision. The guests' speculations might lead them to believe that the Shun family does not approve of this marriage. That's why Shun Shui's father didn't attend the wedding. When Ji Yuzua walked over to her, Shun Shui showed him her phone. After reading it, he frowned slightly in surprise. Shui, what are you thinking? This is our wedding. Your happiness is what matters most. I'm not afraid of what others might say. Shun Shui shook her head, looking conflicted as she said, I haven't decided yet either. Let me think about it some more. All right, take your time to think it over. Ultimately, the decision is yours. If you agree to let him come, I won't have any objections. Shun Shui tapped lightly on the screen and replied to Shun Yuhong, I'll give it careful consideration. On the Shun family's side, Shun Yuhong was overjoyed upon receiving Shun Shui's reply. With a broad smile, he said to the butler, Laoyang, this is wonderful. Shui says she'll consider it. Then Mr. Shun, let's wait for good news, the butler said with a smile. The young lady didn't outright refuse, which means there's still a chance. Yes, indeed, Shun Yuhong's smile deepened. If we can attend the wedding, we'll have the opportunity to talk to Chen Chen and 1111. The butler merely smiled without speaking, thinking to himself, if only they had realized this earlier. Why bother now? Shun Shui and her husband chatted in the room for a while, seeing that it was getting late. They went downstairs together, took Chen Chen and 1111, and drove back to the Yu family home. Returning to the Yu household, Shun Shui noticed Shun Rui was also at home. She sidled up to him and teased in a low voice, Bro, why aren't you out on a date with my future sister-in-law? I stayed home specifically to see you guys, that's why I didn't go out. Or, hearing you say that is so touching, Shun Rui chuckled and gave her a playful shove. Go on, get out of here. I just wanted to see Chen Chen and 1111, that's all. The siblings chatted and laughed as Ji Yuzua followed behind with the two children. Old Master Yu sat in the living room, craning his neck to look outside. When he saw them coming in, he quickly stood up. Didn't you say you'd come back right after breakfast? Why are you only arriving now? Great-grandpa Jiyu Ruochen and Jiyu Ruoshi walked over and called out sweetly. After the whole family had settled in, Shun Shui spoke unhurriedly. We originally planned to return right after breakfast, but someone asked me to go back to the Shun family, saying there was something to give me. Old Master Yu and Shun Rui both knew that when Shun Shui mentioned someone, she was referring to Shun Yuhong. Next, Shun Shui told them about the jewelry box incident and Shun Yuhong's wish to attend the wedding. Old Master Yu and Shun Rui both cursed Shun Yuhong for being shameless. After cursing for a while, Old Master Yu said meaningfully, although he is somewhat shameless, his words do make sense. Your mother has passed away, and if your father doesn't attend, it would indeed be incomplete. Shun Shu nodded with a smile. I didn't outright reject him. I'll give it serious thought during this time. Chapter 147, Pregnant Again. Time flew by, and a month passed in the blink of an eye. With the arrival of winter, the weather grew increasingly colder. Now, whenever going out, one had to bundle up tightly in a down jacket or a woolen overcoat. High cities' winters lack centralized heating, so every household installs their own underfloor heating or uses air conditioning to keep warm. Shun Shui got out of bed and walked to the window, drawing back the curtains. After gazing at the river view outside for a while, she turned to wash up. Lately, she had suddenly begun feeling unusually sleepy, perhaps because the cold weather made staying curled up under the blankets too comfortable. Whenever Ji Yuzua woke up, he deliberately moved quietly to avoid disturbing her, letting her sleep a little longer. Shun Shui, who was brushing her teeth, felt a surge of nausea in her stomach. She leaned over the sink, retching uncontrollably. Hearing the commotion from the living room, Ji Yuzue hurried upstairs to check on Shen Shui. Shui, what's wrong? Is your stomach upset? Ji Yuzue's heart ached at the sight of his wife's pale face. Shen Shui was about to speak when she was overcome by another wave of dry heaving. She picked up the mouthwash cup, rinsed her mouth several times, and as the taste of toothpaste faded, she finally felt a bit better. I'm fine now, don't worry, Shen Shui said as she took the facial cleanser from the shelf and washed her face. By the time Shen Shui finished washing up and stepped out, Ji Yuzue had already picked out the clothes she would wear that day. Shen Shui was changing her clothes while trying to recall in her mind, what date did she have her period last month? As she pondered, she immediately realized her period was already a few days late and still hadn't arrived. After remarrying Ji Yuzue, neither of them had taken any safety precautions. Shen Shui and Ji Yuzue were completely on the same page. If they conceived a child, they would have it. Feeling doubtful, Shen Shui planned to go downstairs and buy a pregnancy test after breakfast. Shen Shui changed her clothes and went downstairs with Ji Yuzue to have breakfast. Ji Ruochen and Ji Ruoshi were already seated at the dining table, greeting them cheerfully. Dad, Mom, the couple nodded simultaneously, pulled out their chairs, and sat down. Aunt Zhong brought up the breakfast, which today consisted of pork liver and lean meat porridge with goji leaves, along with some char siu buns and chicken juice buns. Shen Shui caught a whiff of the liver's pungent smell, and her stomach immediately churned again. Covering her mouth and nose, she let out a dry heave. She quickly pushed the bowl of porridge towards Ji Yuzue, looking uncomfortable as she said, I don't want the porridge, you have this bowl. Ji Yuzue's face showed concern as he frowned and said, Shui, feeling unwell again? After breakfast, I'll take you to see a doctor. Lately, many people have been coming down with gastroenteritis. Before Shen Shui could speak, Sister Zhong asked with a smile, could it be that you're pregnant? The current situation was almost identical to when Shen Shui was pregnant last time, so Sister Zhong guessed she might be expecting again. Ji Yuzue looked pleasantly surprised, glancing at Sister Zhong before turning to gaze at Shen Shui. Shui, is it true? Shen Shui smiled and nodded. It's somewhat similar to when we were expecting Chen Chen and 1111 last time. I originally planned to buy a test strip to confirm before telling you the result. Madam, what would you like to eat? I'll go to the kitchen and prepare something else for you, asked Sister Zhong. Shen Shui didn't have much of an appetite. After a moment's thought, she said to Sister Zhong, please make me a bowl of light noodles. Sister Zhong went to the kitchen to prepare the noodles. Ji Yuzue looked at Shen Shui with a complicated expression and asked, Shui, how long will this morning sickness last? Shen Shui was pregnant again, and he must be overjoyed in his heart, but seeing her suffer, he also felt deeply distressed. Usually, morning sickness improves around 3 months, Shen Shui said. Last time I was pregnant, it gradually got better by the 3rd month. Ji Yuzue pressed his lips together and said with heartache, 3 months is such a long time. Shen Shui shook her head helplessly. There's no way around it, it's something that has to be endured. Everyone's constitution is different. Some people don't experience morning sickness at all during pregnancy. I'm so envious. Ji Ruochen put down his spoon, took a tissue, and elegantly wiped his mouth, his clear eyes fixed on Shen Shui. Mom is pregnant, are we going to have a little brother soon? Ji Ruoshi, hearing her brother say this, also looked at her mother curiously and asked, do we have a little brother now? Shen Shui said softly, it's possible, but we're not sure yet. Upon learning that their mother was expecting a baby, the 2 little ones were overjoyed. They were going to be an elder brother and an elder sister. Auntie Zhong brought out a bowl of noodles and placed it in front of Shen Shui, saying to her, Madam, I didn't add any greasy ingredients. Try it and see. If it doesn't suit your taste, I'll make another bowl. Shen Shui took a bite of the noodles and found the taste acceptable. With just greens and noodles, it was quite light. No need to remake it. My appetite isn't great right now. No matter how delicious something is, I can only manage a few bites. After eating half a bowl of noodles, Shen Shui put down her chopsticks. A few more bites, and her stomach would start feeling uncomfortable again. Ji Yuzue went downstairs to buy a pregnancy test and returned. Shen Shui took the test and went into the bathroom. A few minutes later, Shen Shui opened the door and showed the test strip to Ji Yuzue. The pregnancy test displayed 2 red lines, which meant Shen Shui was indeed pregnant. Shun Shuai casually tossed the test strip into the trash and turned on the faucet to wash her hands. Jiyu Zeyue, beaming with joy, helped Shun Shuai walk back to the living room and sit down. Seeing his cautious demeanor, Shun Shuai couldn't help but laugh. Being pregnant isn't that fragile. Do you think I'm made of porcelain? You're the one I love most. Jiyu Zeyue raised his hand and gently ruffled her soft hair. His touch was light, his eyes filled with tender affection. Yet Shun Shuai responded by giving his arm a firm pinch. Jiyu Zeyue took a deep breath but remained silent, only looking at her with adoring eyes. Aren't you going to ask why I pinched you? The next moment, he immediately played along and asked, Shuai, why did you pinch me? Because I remembered those things from the past. Although it had been a long time, Shun Shuai still felt a surge of grievance when recalling those past events. She continued, on the day I found out I was pregnant, I came back from the hospital and still managed to cook for you despite my morning sickness. But you just took a sip of the soup and left, staying out all night. I waited for you the entire night. Do you know how heartbroken I was? I know, I'm sorry. It was all my fault before, and I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you. Jiyu Zeyue was filled with deep regret over his past actions. If time could be reversed, he would cherish every single moment with her. Thank you for watching. This is a long novel. If you'd like to see the continuation, please leave a comment below saying looking forward to the next part, or give the video a like. I'll update promptly based on your feedback. See you next time.